Testing for YouTube. Testing 1, 2, 3.
All right. First, Welcome, everybody that's in the audience. I'm sure you will be very boisterous as we go through the agenda, I have no doubt. So I'd like to call the meeting to order and approval of the agenda. Oh, is any late items before we carry on? Nope. Okay. Okay, any discussion? All in favor, opposed, motion carried. Okay, and adoption of the minutes?
June 17th, so moved.
Yes, thank you. Second, any discussion? All in favor, opposed, motion carried. And this is, okay, just before we go to the public input, I just want to recognize that Mr. Douglas, we all know Councillor Douglas passed away, and at our regular meeting, when we have it, I think it's in September, is our regular meeting? On August 12th? Okay, the mayor will be have a formal address to everybody. And August 6th, 6 p.m. at Canal Beach, there's a memorial, so everybody is invited, and come and pay your respects, because we all know what Mr. Douglas felt about Canal Beach, and it was his passion, the waterfront. So hopefully we'll see you all down there, and as well as the members of the public that are on the internet and that. So we'll carry on. So this is a public input is an opportunity for the public to address the committee. A maximum of 6 speakers for no more than 5 minutes each will be accommodated. For those participating electronically, please use and raise your hands feature, and you will be called to speak in order of your appearance. Okay? And anybody want to come up before council? Nope. Wow, love this, full house, and yeah. Okay, and I'm just gonna call it 3 times. Anybody wanna come up and speak before council? Anybody? Okay, let's carry on, delegations. And this is where we'll have a delegation. Echo Sunshine Club, go ahead. Mr. Van Dusen, come on up. State your name and address, okay?
Thank you. My name is Jim Van Dusen, president of the Sunshine Club, 5860 2nd Avenue. First off, before I start, I want to say I'm very sorry for your loss. And please accept our condolences on behalf of the Sunshine Club. My presentation's in regard to the user fees that were proposed at the Parks and Rec report in June. And you have got some of the material prior to this meeting. So before I talk about the Sunshine Club in general, I want to mention the Statistics Canada Census Profile 2021. At that time, the ages between 50 and 89, we had 12,725 seniors in Port Alberni out of a population of 25,785. The Alberni Valley Community Foundation Vital Statistics Report in 23 reported that 27% of Alberni Valley's population is comprised of 65 years and older. And the median age in Port Alberni is 50, and that was reported in both the census and the vital signs reports. Also in the 2023 report, it was stated that the percentage of seniors living alone in Port Alberni is 26.6%. And that seniors who live alone often report higher rates of social isolation than seniors who live with someone else. A very important aspect for all seniors that needs to be considered is that recreational activities can bring joy and fulfillment, can have a positive impact on their mental and emotional well-being. They can have reduced feelings of loneliness and isolation, improved mood, a greater sense of satisfaction with life, reduced feelings of stress, anxiety, depression, and positive impact on their overall well-being. Socializing can give opportunities for positive interactions with other people. It gives them a sense of fulfillment and can combat loneliness and provide meaning and direction in their lives. So the Sunshine Club, you've got the full history of it, but I'm going to touch on some of the things that I want to mention to you. Echo Center opened in 1967. They hired a seniors coordinator for Parks and Rec. She developed the Echo Sunshine Club. In the beginning, there were no age requirements. In 1973, the age was set at 50 in order for the group to qualify for senior grants. In 1984, Parks and Rec decided to no longer provide the facilities to Echo Sunshine Club free of charge and implemented a user fee. This fee was charged annually, and the first year it was $15,000. In 1987, the club became a registered society in order to apply for a grant to develop the lawn bowling facility. The purposes of this society are on the front page of that handout I provided. In 2003, Parks and Rec stopped charging us annual fee and implemented a rental fee per facility use. We pay the going rate for facilities. We do not receive any discounts. In 2005, the full-time seniors program position was reduced to 60%. March 2020, the coronavirus pandemic closed Echo Sunshine Club down. October 21, the club reopened and resumed. It did so without a Parks and Recreation senior programmer. So that was basically the last of the partnership between Echo and Echo Sunshine Club. All the work now is done by our volunteers. Over the past 57 years, Echo Sunshine Club has worked closely with Parks and Rec on many projects and city events. The Echo Sunshine Club received grants toward equipment and improvements to the pottery room, the kitchen in Echo, the disc golf course, the one behind Echo, to build the accessibility ramp for the craft mills at the back of Echo Center, to install the acoustic improvements in the Cedar rooms in Echo, to build the freestanding pickleball court at Rec Park, and to provide improvements to the Industrial Heritage Society building, etc. All these benefit not only the Sunshine Club, but our entire community. Also listed in your handout are the 34 activities that we provided last year. The purpose of activities is not to generate revenue, they are to pay for our activities. We rely on fundraising to generate revenue. Included in the list of activities is the Friendly Phone Service. It was initiated in 1994 by the RCMP out of the need to have seniors contacted on a regular basis. Although this is not a Sunshine Club activity, we are closely associated with this vitally important program. We assist in finding volunteers. You don't have to be a member to be one. We provide information, the use of our newsletter, the use of our Sunshine Club office. We take phone calls, relay messages, answer questions, give direction, and we also pay their monthly bill. In addition to the 34 activities, we also provide dances, workshops, seminars, and fundraisers. We book all our venues months in advance. All our activities are Monday to Friday between 9 and 4, with the exception of Monday night pickleball. I think it would be safe to say that if not for our club, during the day, these venues would remain virtually empty. Also, we do not use these facilities when they're required for city or Parks and Rec event, such as school pro days, spring break, Christmas break, summer vacation, dog shows, home shows, toy run, etc.
Jim, could you just hold on for a second? So
Yep.
5 minutes is up. How does council feel? Would you like the delegation to go on?
Motion to allow the delegate. Oh, is it not 10 minutes?
10 minutes? Oh,
Sorry.
I'm giving you 5 today, Jim.
Oh, I was
Girl
told I
time.
had 10.
You had
I'm
10.
sorry,
You
boy.
went real fast. Okay, go ahead, carry on.
Thank you.
I'm wasting your minutes. Carry on.
So coming out of COVID in October 21, we had 520 members. The following year, we had 653. From October 2023 to 24, the total rent paid to Echo was $51,871.47. We had 28 activities through Echo. Our membership was 742, and we had 157 active volunteers. Sorry. So these figures have been taken from the Parks and Rec report that was presented to you at your meeting. The Echo Community Center Dogwood Room We pay now $17.85. The proposal will be $34.23 for a 92% increase. The Hemlock and Fir Room, $13.25 going to $24.78, 87%. Cedar Room Front with Stage, $13.25, $43.30, 227%. Cedar Room Center, $17.85 to $39.40, 121%. Cedar Room Back, $17.85 to $43.30, 143. Cedar Room Full, $40.80 to $74.96, 84%. The small kitchen, weren't charged for that. It's going to be $27.25 now. And the craft room downstairs for pottery was $13.25, going to $30, 126%. Gyro activity room was $22, going to $42, 90%. And the Glenwood, $52 to $80 for 54%. In the event that these proposed increases are adopted, we would go from paying $51,000 to over $90,000. So to wrap up, at our May general meeting, our membership voted an increase going from $75 to $80. Even with that minimal $5 increase, we're sure to lose members. Approximately 30% of our members are low-income retirees. Some even have to budget just to pay the membership each year. Fee increases as high as those proposed would mean the club would have to take extreme measures in order to continue. If we could not find alternate venues, we would be forced to make extreme cuts to the programs offered. Many members would be forced to resign from the club due to increased membership fees. Some would resign due to their activities being cut. With fewer members and exorbitantly higher user fees, it would not be an unrealistic possibility that the Sunshine Club could cease to exist. And if that happened, that would be immensely unfair to the seniors in our community. As there are no senior programs offered through either Parks and Rec or the city, there would be nothing available in Port Alberni. Throughout the Echo Sunshine Club's 57 years of operations, we have provided affordable programs that benefited our seniors. The seniors in Port Alberni deserve an affordable seniors program. And to continue to provide a successful and thriving seniors organization for Port Alberni seniors, it will take a collaborative effort on behalf of the city, Parks and Rec, and our Sunshine Club. We are urging you to take a hard look and do the right thing for the seniors in this community. We are asking you to please consider a non-profit seniors rate that will allow us to continue providing consistent, accessible, affordable programming for seniors' activities. Thank you for your time and your consideration in this very important matter.
Okay. Hello. So we don't really allow applauding and booing or anything like that during during this moment here. And Jim, thank you very much. We're going to move forward, and we'll talk more as we go along. Thank you and you must have planned that 10 minutes right there.
Oh,
pretty good, Tim.
May I ask one thing? At the meeting you had when you received the report, the gentleman said you won't get it back till September, October, and everybody said, yes, that's fine, because you went revised for the ball fields. Is it possible that we could be notified when this is going to come back to you so that we could attend that meeting? We can watch the agenda on the line, but is that even possible?
It's been duly noted by staff.
Thank you very much.
Okay. All right, thank you. So the motion comes up a little later. And so anyways, let's go on to the next delegation, which is the truck loggers. Are they here? Yes, thank you. Do you want to say anything, corporate officer, or are you okay? Okay, so it's the delegations, Truck Loggers Association and Forestry Works for BC, the executive director, Mr. Brash, right? Okay, and do you want to say your...
there's the first problem.
Your name and address, please, sir? Thank you.
I actually live in Bob Brash, Executive Director of Truck Loggers Association. I actually live in Qualicum. I think I'm half local, though, because I have two daughters and a granddaughter that lives here in Port Alberni. I have proof. I had to rub off a bunch of her baking residue off my shirt. But I'm not here for just the truck loggers. I'm here for basically the forest industry, more or less in total. I'm representing folks that work in the logging business, in the value-added business, licensees, silviculture workers, pulp association folks, a loose affiliation with the USW and First Nations Forestry Council. We're an alliance of companies and organizations and associations that are basically concerned with what's happening in forestry. You can go to the next slide. There's lots happening and lots of challenges in the forest sector these days, as probably an understatement of the year. Let's go to the next slide, please. In fact, just for the essence of time, let's go one more. Just a quick reminder as a background for what happens in forestry in British Columbia. We contribute as a total about $17.4 billion in GDP to the province of BC. About $9 billion of that $17.4 billion is actually wages and salaries and benefits that go to people that work in the industry. We're still the 23% of all the exports that come out of the province of BC is from forest and forest products. $6.6 billion goes annually to all forms of government, federal, provincial, and municipal from the forest sector. And we employ 48,000 people directly in the forest sector. And when you do the multiplier, we're easily over 100,000 people. Next slide, please. Next slide. I'm going to rifle through some of these just in the essence of time. Obviously, forestry, though, major contribution to all forms of the things that we depend from government, including healthcare. Next slide, please. They gave me too many bloody pieces of paper here to follow all this stuff. Cost of living. I think the easiest way to explain this is that we work in many rural communities of BC. Probably, I think it's 160 communities that are either significantly dependent on forestry or totally dependent on forestry for the most part. And the other part is that we pay the highest wages in the province overall. So that means people have good, healthy wages. They can afford to live in the community, support the community, and continue to contribute on an ongoing basis. Next slide, please. This is an obvious one. People want sustainable housing. They want more houses. We provide the wood that makes those houses happen. Next slide, please. Critical infrastructure, revenues from forestry, as I said, $6.6 billion from forestry on an annual basis goes towards all forms of government. So we contribute towards new schools, new population growth, transportation corridors, making our roads safer. Next slide, please. This is the one that's more interesting as time goes on here. We need our workforce more than ever. There's lots of debate. I mean, you can just read the paper any particular day about the different opinions that happen about climate change and what needs to be done for solutions. But the working force, for the most part, and we're not saying that you don't have protected areas, because we know that that path is being chosen, and we're going to be on the path towards whether it's 17% or 30% of the land base in BC protected, depending on what happens over the next few years. The problem is that in most parts of the province, we've done a very good job of suppressing fires. And what that's happened, though, is that we've built up debris in those stands. Those stands become sort of far more susceptible to fire, and they become far more susceptible to sort of more damaging type fires. So I think most of us in the industry, but of course we're a little biased in our viewpoints, say that our forest stands need more management in the future, not less, to reduce those fire hazards, especially when it's close to communities. Next slide, please. But things are not so good right now. In forestry, just as a background, we log about 1/3 of 1% of the land base any particular year. But government issued cutting permits have slowed dramatically. And now harvest levels are about 60% of what they normally should be. That graph is a rough graph, but you get an idea of the trend. And in the next 3 years of the provincial budget, it shows that same trend continuing. Obviously, that's a huge concern, has impacts to jobs, it has impacts to revenues, it has impacts to the stability of BC's economy, it has impacts basically at your level too in terms of revenues that come here. It's a very challenging time. Most of this is due to sort of implementation of government policies, because you can see that these changes have happened rapidly. And that's the concern that this sort of alliance has about Forestry Works for BC, that these changes have been so rapid, so quick, that they've had significant impacts, and we're worried about the long-term sort of impacts of these cuts, because right now most people in the industry are kind of hanging in there. But that's not going to last forever. And I'm not going to speak for companies that work directly in Port Alberni, but obviously we have communications with those companies, and they are having some challenges right now, significant challenges, because of a lack of fiber supply. I'm sure you know that some shifts are down from their normal. The problem is, will that get worse in the future, or will it stabilize? And what our group is after is a stable sort of annual harvest that we can depend on so that people can make the necessary investments to move this industry forward, stabilize the industry, because right now it's not too stable, and make those investments to make it prosper for the long term. I sort of invited Mike, I don't know if you want to come up and just sort of say quickly what it's like for his situation. I'm sure you must know Mike.
Mike McKay, 2772 7th Avenue. I'm living proof of what's going on in forestry right now. We're one of few people left in this town who work in this business and try to provide jobs and stability for the town. Obviously, the town's in huge transition, but I can tell you, we have no stability whatsoever in forestry over the last 3 or 4 years. I've never worked so hard to have nothing. And it's just because of my good people that work around us that we're still around. But you only have to look at the waterfront to see how it's gone. And when we take our, how shall I say it, our AEC, our annual allowable cut, and people make, and I don't know how to say it, if you don't knock the trees down and make them horizontal, they aren't logs. And without logs, everyone can fish in this canal. I've never seen it like I see it right now. You can fish anywhere in the canal. Used to be there was areas you'd never fish. And that just gives you an idea of what the Fraser River looks like and everywhere else in this province. I can't stress it enough. We're at our wits' end, and everyone should know just how tough forestry's been the last 3 years especially. Thank you.
So what it comes down to, what we're after at the end of the day is that we've got avenues through our website, we've got templates out there, we've got social media. Really what we're after is just for your consideration to sort of, if you share the same concerns as us, to make those concerns known to the policymakers and decision makers in the province. Right now, I mean, I know Campbell River and the North Island residents, or communities are doing that. I know Kamloops has sent a letter recently to the province about their concerns. I think I saw an article just today where North Cowichan was lobbying the minister to sort of fix this problem with cutting permits. So communities that are heavily dependent on the forest sector are getting it, that there's a problem and something has to be done different. We've got templates we can offer that you guys can use, but of course you're free to do whatever you want. The UBCM is coming up. We'll be at the UBCM with a booth, this Forestry Works for BC. And we also, the truck loggers, and I'm not here for the truck loggers, but I'll make a pitch for them, what the heck. We have a dinner the night before the UBCM starts. We've done it for many, many years now. We've sent the invitation out to you folks. We would love you to sort of attend. We usually have the minister attend. We might have the ministers now, because you might know we've got Minister Ralston and we've got Minister Mercier, both of them involved in the forestry portfolio. So you're invited to come to that, but in closing, if you've got the concerns where things are going in the forest sector, you can work with us. We can provide you any information you want. We can give you more information, and or you can take advantage of those templates that we've made up, or work with the other municipalities that are doing the same thing. So.
Thank you, and I know Councillor Haggard would like to say a few words, and I know Mayor Minions is a big advocate at every conference that she goes to regarding what's happening in the forestry in Port Alberni, and I'm sure she might want to say something. So members of council, I know, are very much advocates out there regarding what's happening. So go ahead, Councillor Haggard.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And the mayor and I do attend the annual Truck Loggers Conference, and I do believe, I'm not positive, but I do believe that we're the only representative local municipalities who do attend that conference. I could be wrong, but we try and attend every year because we do believe in it and we do support you. And I know the mayor just met with the mayor of North Cowichan, and I think they wrote a joint letter. If not a joint letter, they each wrote a letter on their own to the exactly to the effect that you are requesting. So we are on top of it. We try and work with the Minister of Forest as much as we can. But is the meeting with him at UBC, have we requested that meeting? We have requested that meeting as well. So, and if there's anything else that we can do to help support the forestry industry, please let us know. As I said, we are supportive.
Yep, no, it might not seem like it, but I think I did the math. Unfortunately, I've been in the business for 47 years or something like that, and I've never seen the degree of change and the pace of change that's been implemented by government over the last only 2 or 3 years.
Councillor Mealy.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you for coming, Mr. Brash. Really appreciate it. Could you forward those templates to city staff for council's consideration?
Certainly.
We don't have them already. I really appreciate that. Thank you, sir.
Yep.
Anybody else? Nope. How about Mayor Minions? Did you want to say anything, or are you there?
Thank you, Chair Solda, and thanks, Bob, for being here and for speaking to this issue. I know that the Truck Loggers Group does a lot of really important advocacy, and as you know, we enjoy attending the conference and keeping up to date so that we can echo your advocacy at our level to the province as well. So we'll continue doing that. And I do think that the letter that the mayor of North Cowichan and I sent to the province probably covers a lot of similar topics, but I think we'd be happy to write another one and just make sure, I mean, letters are all a small part of it, but just that continued work, you can rest assured will certainly continue to happen on our behalf. So thanks again for being here.
Okay.
Thank you very much. Do you have something else you want to say?
Nope, other than I know you folks are busy, so thanks very much for your time that you always provide to us. Thank you again.
And thank you.
Okay.
So council, just to go back to the Sunshine Club, because there's nothing on our agenda. And so normally the discussion will come back at a fee report. But if we want to add it to our agenda to have a discussion, because Sunshine Club members are in the audience, we can do that. Okay. Oops, Councillor Mealy first.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yeah, I was just wondering when we were going to get into that. That's okay. I did see it wasn't on the rest of the agenda. So if we have the Sunshine Club here, first of all, thank you, Mr. Van Dusen, for making your presentation today. I guess the first question, so again, we kind of went over the process. So we will be looking at this at a September council meeting, and these fees are to take effect for 2025. Am I correct? That's my first question.
CAO.
Thanks for the question. You are correct. We, administration brought forward, as requested, the fee in the schedule. We were requested to do additional work to that and bring it back for council's consideration. At that time, we did say it would be in the fall. So we are working on that report, and we'll have it back for council's consideration at that time.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And since the Sunshine Club is still here, Mr. Van Dusen or anybody else can answer the question. But Mr. Van Dusen, you were the one that's speaking, so I will direct it towards you. But anybody else can answer. You're talking about a nonprofit seniors rate. And obviously the Sunshine Club has done a lot of work and research. So what is your idea of what the Sunshine Club could do? And what does that rate look like in your mind? Can I ask that question?
Go right ahead.
Turned it off. There we go. We discussed it as an executive, and we thought about bringing a number we would be happy with, but we chose to just let you look through the numbers on what we pay now, what the possibly where you go with youth rates. I mean, they get their breaks. Their breaks are only for the Glenwood. As far as our group is concerned. So we would need something extrapolated to continue through the Echo Sunshine Club rooms. Also, that's the majority of our rentals. So something in that area, something to be able to keep us going and provide for our seniors.
Councillor Haggard?
Thank you for allowing us to make comments. You were so quick, we didn't have a chance, Chair Solda. First of all, I want just to say the Sunshine Club is a very strong asset to our community. And when I talk to people that have been into Port Alberni, I say join the Sunshine Club. It's a great way to meet people, get out and enjoy yourself, and lots and lots of things that you can do. There's no reason to be lonely if you live in Port Alberni. So I just want to thank you for all the work that you do here. But I do remember when Director Thorpe made that presentation, she did say that she had trouble finding comparables for the room rental rates. So there probably is some room for discussion on those rates. But I think there is ways that we could increase your rates without it being a burden to you. For example, I don't know if it's still $2 to do 4 curling, and that included a coffee and a cookie. My mother-in-law used to do 4 curling. And so maybe could it be increased to $4? You get a whole morning of activity plus a coffee and a cookie, which is still pretty reasonable. And anytime we do increase rates, if you have a low-income senior that can't afford it, we do have the Heart Fund, I believe, is still available to support those people who can't afford it. We don't want to see anybody that says they can't afford to enjoy recreational activities in this community. So please remind them that that is available to them if they can't afford to pay the annual fee. So yeah, so we will be revisiting those rates, I'm sure, and there'll be lots of discussion. But these rates have not been increased since 2015. So as your costs go up, our costs go up as well. So we want to be able to support you, but we want to find that happy medium and work with you. Thank you.
Your comments to the $4 each time, you add that up, and some of our events are 3 times a week, so you're looking at quite a substantial every month on top of the fee we're charging them to be a member. It gets to be a lot for a good many of our seniors. So yeah.
Okay, Councillor Dame.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So as this is a committee of the whole meeting, we won't be making any council decisions here today. So it feels like an opportunity to have a bit more of an open conversation about this. So I feel like maybe I'll take that opportunity to maybe share some of the challenges that we face in these sorts of decision-making processes. When we have community groups come to us with what are reasonable requests, it's our responsibility to consider the needs of all demographics of city residents, and of course this includes seniors. Absolutely, seniors have unique challenges that we have to consider. But at the same time, we have to consider all age demographics. And again, I'm not stating necessarily that this is my opinion at this moment. This is simply a challenge that we have to consider. So when we subsidize one group, the city's not a business that it has profit to draw from. It draws from taxation. So that means that when one group gets a subsidy, we are putting the burden of that subsidy on everybody else, essentially. So we have to be very careful in considering who are we burdening with as we move this funding around, right? And this certainly might be a valid time to do that, but it's a hard decision, and this is not a reflection of my level of respect for the communities or the seniors of our community, or the gratitude that we all have for the the years of service that have been put in for our community. But the hard facts are that unlike how it used to be, there are now more people living in poverty in the 25 to 55 age bracket than there is in the senior age bracket. And so these are these are tough things for us to have to see and then think about how do we distribute this taxation and how do we justify raising taxes in order to, or not raising taxes necessarily, but moving funding around. So anyway, my point is this is tough, and I appreciate your concerns, and I hope that we can continue a dialogue of understanding between council and your group as we move forward to try to find solutions that keep these things affordable, allow us to show our appreciation for the seniors' place in our community and contributions, and also consider how difficult it is moving into these tough budget years where there are high tax increases currently in consideration. So yeah, those were my thoughts that I just wanted to share with you all. Thank you.
Thank you. Just one point to that. You at your meeting when you got your report, and I'm speaking about ball fields now. You were talking about your ball fields, and it was sent back because one of your council members, and I apologize, I don't know who it was, said, are we taking into account all the volunteer work that went into those ball fields, all the fundraising that went into those ball fields? I'm just want to repoint out, and it's in the presentation. We paid for just about everything in the pottery room, the kitchen, the cedar room in Echo, and on. And that, I think, alone deserves some kind of recognition for all the money spent. They were grants, don't get me wrong, I understand that. But still, the grant money that we raised, and so that, I believe, should be a huge part of any decisions that you make. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Mealy. You want to turn off your mic there, Councillor Dane? Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just kind of to go maybe a little like a comparison as over the years, I look at the buses. It cost me $2 to get across town when I was a kid. It cost me $2 to get across town now. Costs have gone up, but it's up to the city to realize the balancing act between what we can subsidize, but what's too much for the user group. And I think that's pretty much where we're at today, is the fact that we need to understand. I think we all agree the costs have gone up. And I think we have to agree that the costs have to go up at some point. It can't be the same for years and years and years. But what is that middle ground? As Councillor Haggard said, there has to be a middle ground somewhere where we don't handcuff the seniors of this community as in the Sunshine Club, but the city can still recoup the money. And not only that, it's also the rates for anybody else that wants to use it for those times if we don't come with a non-profit senior rate, if I remember correctly. Non-profit senior rate, that's what he said. So again, going back to the crux of the situation is just, we have to decide as a council over the next couple of meetings, what is that medium, what is that middle ground? Sunshine Club has come here today and said that the rates are not proposed, are not gonna work for them. But I think we all understand that the rates have to go up eventually. So it's finding that middle ground. Like I said, going across town, $2 still. So the costs have gone up, but we've decided to subsidize to a certain extent for the bus and the transit. So same kind of idea here. We need to just find that middle ground and move forward together so that the seniors can still have the Sunshine Club and the city can still recoup some of the money. So thank you, Madam Chair.
I guess my last point, unless you have other questions, when I mentioned that our group uses these venues from basically 9 till 3, and my point in the presentation was, who else is going to rent those? Kids are in school, people are working, they're going to be empty. It wasn't a threat when I said absolutely not. I mean, I want to work with you people in Parks and Rec and get something resolved. But if we have to go to other venues, even if they're available, that's $50,000 that we paid into Echo and the city. That's a good chunk of change. I know it's not your youth program's money. I mean, that's huge. I do understand that, but it is a good chunk of money. And, we want to remain in Echo. I mean, that's our name. But the alternatives we would have to look at I don't think are good for the city are good for Parks and Rec or our club. But we would have to do what we have to do also, so thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Patola, do you have any questions? No. I do want to say something, though, regarding when we talk about costs going up. I agree, costs are going up. There's no doubt when we go shopping, there's less in our grocery basket, right? Because of whatever the cost is. But seniors' pensions haven't gone up. They might have gone up $2, $3 or something like that. I know because of my husband, and it's like, oh, well, that's a big increase. So I met a senior the other day, and she lives in a low-cost housing, but her rent is her pension checks, and that's it. And so I said, well, did you know there's another way of going about it? You can apply to the government and that. So I gave her a senior's book that will help her, a manual, and just wanted to put that out there, that a lot of seniors, when we talk about the costs and stuff like that, most of it's gone to rent or however, groceries and to other bills. So there's not lots left in the basket. So I'm just putting that. I do have a question for staff, though, and maybe the CAO or can direct it to the right department. But regarding the services that we give in Parks and Rec for seniors, what do we do if Sunshine Club wasn't there doing all their activities and everything for seniors? What does the city do? So maybe that's really important to address.
Thanks for the question. I'll take a crack at it, but I think, maybe in another meeting we can have a more thorough conversation. A city's role is to provide services to our residents that are needed, and it has to be on an affordable for the taxpayer and also an affordable for the user. What a lot of cities are finding right now is we do have aging infrastructure, and that stretches our resources even further. And as you will see after we receive the facility condition assessment, we're going to see our facilities are aging in the community. And it'll be a tough decision for the community and council on which areas do we close buildings? Do we raise taxes to fix those buildings? And then how do we pay for it? Again, something I always remind council and members of the public that I talk to, there's only a couple revenue sources for cities, and that's through taxes or through charges. And that's fee for charges, our leases, and different items like that, or by law enforcement is another revenue. But again, we're limited to the ways that we can pay for things. So again, this council has some tough decisions coming up this year and in future years, especially as we have all the master plans coming in to explain the situation of our infrastructure, not just our streets, sidewalks, but our facilities, our user courts, our fields. And we're going to have to make some tough decisions as a council and as a community. So, administration is working very hard to get you the information you need to look at this with a 360-degree view to make sure we're trying to consider every aspect of this. But again, it is going to be some tough decisions. When we look at coming up a 15+% tax increase that is in the 5-year capital plan right now, a lot of the seniors that I have talked to don't like that either. So, there are a lot of conversations we have to have, and, administration is here to support council in getting you the information. We are starting to bring service level reports. There's some later on this evening, and we are providing quarterly reports to let you know how people are using our facilities, using our recreation, either events or programming. And we do have some decisions to make as a council if we want to lower taxation.
Thank you, but it's not quite the answer I was looking for. So what I was actually looking for, and I'm glad you mentioned what you did, but what I was looking for is what kind of programming does the city of Port Alberni offer the seniors? Sunshine Club offers a whole bunch of programming for seniors, but what do we offer in that package?
So I believe seniors do take, do some aquatics and some of that program. The Sunshine Club does provide a lot of programming for seniors. Again, we follow the direction of council. If council wanted us to focus on seniors and do more programming, we can do that. Currently, we don't have to because there is somebody filling that void. there is other organizations throughout the city that also help fill voids for council and provide service agreements. And there's many service clubs that do a lot of good things for the community. If those service clubs decide to not do it anymore, the decision for council is, do we step into that place? And usually by stepping into that place, it comes with a cost. So I'm not saying that there is services or isn't services. Again, that would be a more robust discussion, because I believe we do track some of the ages of people that use our facilities for lots of different activities, but I don't have that information, and I don't believe any staff member would have that information at the tips of our fingers. We would have to reply at a later date. And you know, as we move forward on the fees and services, I believe in that report there were some usage stats that explained the usage of our buildings. But again, I don't have the exact information to answer your pointed question at this time. But the Sunshine Club does fill an important void in our programming. But because of the Sunshine Club, we don't have to offer that programming at this time.
And thank you, and that keeps the cost down. So by the Sunshine Club doing it, oh, Jim, did you want to say something? And then I'll go to Councillor Mealy.
I don't know if I should be speaking. Yes, the city, if you took it over, and I don't have the numbers in front of me, certainly, but it would be an exorbitant amount of money to take on a program such as we've got with the city. You'd pay for everything. Like I said, we do this with volunteers, and the city's sure the hell not going to do it with volunteers. Everybody's going to be paid. It would cost a fortune. So that should be taken into effect when you're looking at giving us something to continue doing the work. You don't have to.
And thank you for that comment. Thank you, CEO. And all right, come on. Is that okay with council? You're good? Okay, yes.
There's a program called New Horizons for
Do you want to
Seniors.
say your name and everything?
Eucharist. You probably all know me. There's a program called New Horizons for Seniors, which we've used a number of times. We actually used it for the Industrial Heritage Centre. They gave us $25,000 to paint the outside. And if the city works with the seniors group, you can attract that money here to get your infrastructure repaired. Echo Centre and places like that could use that. Work with us, not against us.
Thank you. And Councillor Mealy?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I was going to tackle that question actually, just on my level and from my experience. So I look at it two ways: is if the Sunshine Club doesn't exist, is again going back to Mr. Van Dusen, either we can make the choice to fill that void, take on that cost, and lose $51,000 in revenue, or not take on that cost. And the reality would be is to close or curtail the hours of Echo Centre, because if no one's going to use it, why would we have it open? So that's the two scenarios if the Sunshine Club doesn't exist. So that's the way I look at it.
Okay, we're going to move on, but I just want to make one comment before we go on, is that this is not the first time Sunshine Club has come before council in all the years, and I know Councillor Mealy's been on council before, and we've gone through this. When we were actually charging taxes for use of the facilities for individual organizations and stuff, or we were raising some of the costs. Yes, so this is not the first time we've had this discussion. So in conclusion, I just want to say we will have a discussion when we do the fee for service. I am looking forward to the facilities report, keeping in mind of the costs there. So what will come out of it, I do want, and if council agrees to it, that we contact the Sunshine Club when we have that discussion to do with the fee for service regarding the Sunshine Club usage. Is that possible?
Yeah, through the chair, we already had taken note of that and had agreed to let the Sunshine Club know when that discussion will be happening at council.
And I think that's really important. So then you will all know, and I'm sure the message will be passed on to each individual, and we'll see a full house again. And also maybe during a facility discussion, it might be a good idea to pass that on to the Sunshine Club members, so they have an idea of what's going on too regarding facility costs. So thank you very much. I just want to, you can stay for the rest of the meeting. This should be really exciting, or you can go leave at this moment. Thank you.
I just want to thank the council for allowing us to speak to you this evening. Thank you for your time.
Enjoy your evening for those who are leaving. I'm sure I'll see you around Port Alberni because I know all of yous. We'll just give everybody a minute to leave and then we'll carry on. Staff is just coming back in, as well as the last of everybody's leaving. God, I missed the full house here. All right, let us carry on. We're going to unfinished business and staff reports. And corporate officer?
Through you, Madam Chair, we're just on to the quarterly reports there. So we do have a number between engineering, public works, finance and IT, parks, recreation and culture, and human resources. So we can, I guess, just go through in that order if that's amenable.
All right, go right ahead.
Good evening, Council. Through the chair, if I may. I'll start with the engineering quarterly report for Q2. And I'll pause before starting the public works afterwards. So Q2 this year for engineering, we, as you can see in the first section here, we had a number of tasks that our engineering technicians completed with respect to permits, looking at different meter requests and hydrant use permits, that sort of thing. We're also still undertaking, all of the work with updating our standards, the MMCD standards. The GIS department is still doing quite a bit of work with our geospatial data in the background. It's a lot of stuff under the hood with respect to creating maps and layers and all those sorts of things. And they've also been doing a lot of support towards doing work for the master plan consultants. There's a lot of data and information that is required to complete the master plans. Segueing right into capital projects, the first section under master plan project updates. So as of end of July, this was written for the end of June, but end of July, the Parks, Rec and Culture master plan is underway. We've awarded it to the consultant, Lanark. Project initiation meetings have taken place. We're also in the process, we've completed the site visits for the facility condition assessments, which will be a big part of, as we were discussing earlier. Also tying into what we look at for the master plans. The fire services master plan has also been awarded to a consultant, and we're also in the early stages of kicking that off and getting those that section underway. The utilities, the water, storm, and sanitary master plans has been awarded to the consultant. We're in the final stages of doing contract execution, and that also is very similar to the transportation master plan, which has also been awarded. So there's been a lot of procurement work completed in the last quarter to get shortlisted and get the right people and the right consultants hired, and we're just in the first stages of starting the master plans. In conjunction with the master plan work, and our new manager of asset management has been working closely with project manager on tying back to the GIS work, getting a lot of databases and work started for basically the outputs of those master plans, and some of the stuff in Parks, Rec and Culture is the first area that we're looking at. We've also awarded a contract for installing some sewer flow monitoring equipment, which will provide valuable data when we complete our sewer hydraulic models with our utility master plans. Under other capital projects, we have, as an update for the Somas Mill site demolition, we're basically almost 100% complete with building demolition at this stage. The final building 8 was brought down in June. We're in the final stages of sorting through the salvage material and wood and whatnot from the building. There's also been quite a bit of work done for the environmental site assessment and working in conjunction with our consultant and getting sampling and testing and coring done. And also ties into our Key to Key pathway, which is we're in final phases of sections 2 and 3, which goes through the Somas site, as well as behind the Barclay Hotel and tying back in up by Roger Creek. Under design projects, one more for the Bird Street redevelopment. We had our kickoff meeting today, as a matter of fact, with our contractor for doing the utility installation between 10th and Anderson. So that work will be starting in early August, and we'll have some public information coming out on that shortly. And then the streetscape construction will also be starting later this fall as well and proceeding into early 2025. For design projects, the the Argyle 1st to 3rd redevelopment, we're at about 50% design completion at this stage. I'm in final stages, just getting some information compiled to be able to create a project update page similar to Key and SOMAS on Let's Connect PA to allow both council and the public to see what we've been up to on that. And then there's a number of other projects there as well with some of the utilities with Josephine Force Main, Franklin River Road water main replacement. I'll pause there if there's any questions on the engineering quarterly report.
Questions from council? No, carry on.
Okay, I'll keep right on rolling into Public Works. So Q2 is a pretty busy time of year for Public Works. This is one of our busiest times. It's when we staff up. A lot of our seasonal staff are hired, and we start getting out of the winter into spring work and into the summer work. So I'll just kind of roll through by each department here. So starting with water services. You can see a number of tasks that were completed there as far as customer service. We didn't have any water main repairs, thankfully, but we had a number of maintenance activities up at our Bainbridge Lake. So we completed both the annual dam inspection as well as some spring maintenance with flail mowing, brushing, and just getting the site cleaned up there. There's always, with both water and sewer, it's kind of a linear workload throughout the year as there's continuous testing and monitoring of our water systems. You see on page 2 there, excuse me, just some new water main extension that was installed. Jumping into the sewer department, so again, the workload fairly linear, but you can see there are a number of tasks that we completed in Q2. There was quite a bit of sanitary main inspection, and I'll just point out in the picture there, we acquired a new sewer crawler video inspection unit last year, which has been quite handy in assisting the teams in completing work and doing assessments on the pipe underground. The roads and drainage department, one of the busiest departments down at Public Works, has the majority of our equipment operators and skilled laborers. Again, springtime, it's busy. It's when we start getting into patching potholes and street sweeping and power washing bridges and sidewalks and all those types of activities. So you can see quite a few on the list there on page 4. Just pointing out a number of inspection work orders have also taken place as well regarding sidewalks and roads. We're also getting into painting crosswalks and other intersection type paint activities. One success we've had with the Public Works in Q2 was the installation of the pedestrian activated signals at 7 intersections across the city, and you'll see a picture of that there on page 4. And then finally moving into fleet and solid waste. So the fleet department, again, responsible for maintaining all of our equipment and vehicles. You'll see a list of the tasks completed as well as a picture of one of our great mechanics doing service on our Zamboni. And then under solid waste, you'll also see the highlights of the amount of waste collected by category in Q2, both with the 3-stream solid waste with organics, waste, and recycling. Any questions?
Go ahead, Councillor Mealy.
Thank you, Madam Chair, Mr. McDonald. I'm going to do something here that I can't probably do in a council meeting. It's a little more formal, but pedestrian activated signal crossings. Can I get a fist bump? Thank you. I appreciate that. When I made the motion, I did not, I envisioned, I went to Qualicum Beach and saw some that were put on by posts and that, but to attach them to the existing signs is brilliant. Sorry. So staff, thank you, Mr. McDonald, that. Now, I said at the time that I want it to be like my haircut, cheap and effective. So they're effective. I'm up at the top at the corner of 10th and Argyle, and I can see the one flashing in front of the fire department. That's how effective they are. I go down Redford all the time, and I can see it 3 blocks down. Like, it is exactly what I'm looking for. So that's the effective part. You may not be able to answer the question right now, Mr. McDonald, but how cheap are we talking? What was the cost, if I may?
I don't have the exact per intersection number right at the tip of my fingers, but I can say we did save significantly on what we expected we'd have to. And because of that, we're actually going to go back and look at retroactively other intersections which had the older style lights because they're not as bright and not as flashy, and look at replacing those, as well as adding further intersections to the program this year. So stay tuned.
Thank you very much. Wonderful. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Well, I'm sure we can all echo the same sentiments. Thank you. Any other comments? No? Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Next, finance. We love talking dollars now. And IT, I'm assuming you're doing IT too.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So yes, this will be the Financial Information and Technology, the Financial Services and Information Technology Services Department. So for the second quarter of 2024, we were wrapping up the financial plan in early April. That happened on April 8th. Moving on to the tax rate bylaw that was approved the following meeting, because we introduced that at the April 8th meeting. And the external audit was completed on April 22nd with the approval from council at that time. Once all those reports are done, then we start our annual reporting, and then that gets completed by mid-May, and then the SOFI report by the end of June. Supporting all the departments within the city. Finance was working with the departments on the master planning, the Connect the Keys lighting and connection phase, various equipment replacement projects as far as our transportation services. Standing offers for services, so we've put out a few procurements for that to support some of the work that we have ongoing. So we have some current prices as far as services that we can contract in the community. The water meter replacement program and the environmental monitoring for the sewage lagoon. Also within the second quarter, there was work done on the level of service to support the departments on the financial side. So not only were we working on our report that we brought forward, but we also were supporting the other departments as far as it relates to the levels of service that we're going to see later on tonight. Also grants that we were completing and reporting on was the Connect the Keys or the Key to Key pathway and the Child Care Center. And some other smaller grants that we have to do year-end reporting for. Other items include supporting the audit committee and getting the reporting done for the first quarter for the meeting on May 28th. The liability insurance for the train operations, that was took quite a bit of time of the director for the second quarter in getting that in place. Cash flow investment, the deputy director is looking at trying to maximize any of the cash flow that we have seen, especially with our taxation that was coming in June. We try to ensure that we're getting best value, so either investing in our MFA high interest savings account or looking to lock in some of those funds into the next quarter. As we see the decrease in the interest rates, we're going to likely see diminishing returns on some of those funds. So we're trying to maximize the demand for the cash flow and then the investment over the next year, with the rate likely going down to 4% from the 5%. We've also had IT working on some planning and engineering department moves to the office space across the way, some operational improvements, setting up the electronic time entry system for parks and public works, so moving to a more electronic method from the current paper method. We've done some regular system maintenance. We've changed the deferred tax, so that takes a lot less time for our accountant to upload all the tax information from the province. Now that's all automatic in our systems, and that was a lot of support from IT, and the payroll system upgrades that we're making. We've had the asset management manager, the new role that started on April 2nd. So we were onboarding. We reviewed the asset inventory, the data collection and management for fleet and facility. So we're targeting those two areas as far as asset management at the start. We also are looking at integrating our asset management with engineering, so that as we do the master plans, there's an awareness and some input from our asset management role in that process, and it's been quite well done as far as the collaboration between the two departments there, and that was always the intent. Asset management is not a finance role, but it's a role throughout the organization for all the assets that we have. So the corporate-wide stakeholder engagement and introductions that we've done, and then there's some Stats Canada reporting that often was done by the deputy director. We're trying to shift some of that capital asset work over to the asset management role, and just improving and looking at our strategies as far as best practices for asset management. Obviously, the taxation notices went out in late May, and that takes a lot of effort for the frontline staff, and we've collected probably about 85% when I looked at the numbers of the total taxation, so a little bit higher than we have seen in recent years, but that's a good sign. And we're still, supporting the public as far as where to defer your taxes and homeowners grants and whatnot. So that's been some of the work that the frontline staff have been doing, and that does take quite a bit of effort. When we look at the budget overview for the departments, there's no anticipated variances. Everything seems to be right on target with where we should be at this point in the year. We're about 50% for the overall financial costs, and information technology is about 43%, and purchasing administration's at 37%. All these expenditures seem to be within range. Looking at the RCMP services and the BC Transit contracts that finance overseas and enters, and those seem to be online as far as what's expected. And there's no capital projects within the department for the quarter. We indicated that there'd be tax sale changes that we anticipated for 2024, but timing, those were delayed, and we'll see those in 2025. But with that, it should take a lot more effort on the front end as far as dealing with potential tax sales. We anticipate sending out letters, approximately probably about 350, because we have to look at who's up for tax sale in the year, and that's where we're running currently, about May and June, when we have to make the notification. So that's one area that we anticipate finance to be working more on, and that's really the accountant that does that. And we do quite a bit of reach out to the public through normal processes. And I think I've indicated before that the tax department and the information that we provide has been included as far as the recommended best practices at GFOA BC, as far as the information and how clear we are in our communications. So I think it's important that we make sure that we use the tools that the province provides to us very diligently, because the tax sale is quite a heavy tool for us to use and with the public. So we didn't see those changes, but we will see those next year. We anticipate those changes will probably cost probably about $10,000 just in the amount of time and effort and mailings that we have to undertake for tax sale. Policy review, that's something that I know Council is seeking improvement on across the board. So it's something that the Finance Department will be looking at as far as changes for ours. Obviously, there's a lot of effort that's put in the first part of the year for financial planning, reporting. Now we're getting into that project time in the summer, but we also have the time to now take off for leave, because it makes more sense for the department to be on vacation. So, but in that meantime, the finance deputy director and director will work on making changes with corporate services as far as any changes for policy. And of course, with the level of service reports that are coming forward, that has taken a little bit of time. I anticipate our financial plan will look a little bit different as we bring it forward and as we separated out the level of service detail. So that would live on, likely not making too many changes to the original document, understanding that that document's been the same since about the year 2000. Looking back, that same financial document, but we'll be expanding with the level of service, providing that detail just to better inform council through the financial planning process. And as we work through the year, budget will become more of a annual, ongoing process as far as bringing decisions for council to make. So with that, I turn it back to you, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much. Any questions? No questions, Andrew. You are free to go. Thank you. And next, Parks and Rec and Cultural. And welcome. There's enough seating. You can just kind of squish in. There you go.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I will touch on the administration, culture, and facilities sections of the quarterly report, and then we'll invite Mr. Mahalis to report on parks and Mr. Burgoyne to report on recreation, and then the three of us would be pleased to answer any questions the committee might have. So the primary activity this quarter in administration was the commencement of our master plan. So we will be hosting our first community engagement session as part of our Connect with Your City open house event that's happening on September 25. In the Culture Department, our third biennial juried art show is currently on display. So we encourage all residents in the community to come and enjoy the pieces from the 49 artists that are on display at the Alberni Valley Museum until August 31st. And in facilities, it's hard to believe, but our off-season has already come and gone at the multiplex. So the ice is out of the entire facility only between the middle of May to the middle of June. Otherwise, we have at least one sheet of ice in the facility year-round. And so shortly, we'll shift our attention to the annual shutdown at the Aquatic Center. So a reminder to community that we're holding the annual shutdown at the Aquatic Center a little later this year in order to facilitate offering additional programs such as swimming lessons. So the Aquatic Center will be closed this summer from August 26th to September 29th. And lastly, like it was mentioned earlier by a few staff, our facility condition assessment project will continue into this fall. And so a reminder to the committee that that'll help us understand the current lifespan of various city-owned facilities, which will help inform our master plan and our long-term investment in our facilities moving forward. And now on to parks.
Thank you, through the chair. Similar to Public Works, second quarter is a very busy time of year doing our spring cleanup with parks. We're also focusing on growing season. Our growing sites are at full swing. We mow up to 80 sites per year in general maintenance. Also this season, we increased our staffing to operate 7 days a week. With this, it allows us to support several events on the weekends. Some of these events included Mini Soccer World Cup, track and field events, Mother's Day ball tournaments, trail running, art festival, City of Port Alberni summer kickoff, port days, butterfly release, weekend craft fair and market, as well as the Okidoki Fantastic Weekend. This also allows us to focus on high profile areas on the weekend and improve our focus on customer service. Some of our current work we're working on administrationally is development of sport field maintenance procedures, implementing horticultural vandalism tracking processes. In horticulture, we've completed the planting of all of our annual flowers as well as installing hanging baskets for the season. We also started a pilot project this year with planters at Harbor Key. These planters have reservoirs in them that allow us to visit these sites less often. Some other general operational notes. Parks budget is on track at this point of the season at halfway. We've also supported local brooms this season, Broom Busters. Johnson median yearly maintenance has been completed, and that's the picture we see up there. We've also added an additional water trailer by adapting our current winter brine tank. This will supplement watering trees, flowers, as well as pressure washing various park sites. Some other outgoing projects are we've ordered and received our new overseeder. This will improve our sports field maintenance. We've recently reinstalled the basketball nets and backboards at Russell Park. For sports fields, we've hired a consultant to do preliminary needs assessment for all of our sports fields. So this process will help us identify capital needs for all of our fields, as well as further develop our maintenance practices throughout the season. Looking ahead to the third quarter, a few highlights are administration will be developing all parks and process inspections, as well as developing further standards for parks. Horticulturally, we'll be doing general flower and bed maintenance, tree pruning, and we're also developing our hazard tree assessment and logging process. Operationally, as our non-irrigated turf sites start to slow down, crews will start focusing on more general parks maintenance, which include protecting the park's infrastructure, including work on trails, work on parks benches and tables. Some upcoming projects include Bob Daly track relining. This is scheduled for August, as well as we've purchased a new turf mower, which is set to arrive in September. As well with sports fields, we're continuing on general sports field maintenance. These tasks would include aerating, overseeding, and now with our new overseeder doing that and top dressing. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Through the chair, this quarterly report is for Recreation and Aquatics. For this quarter, we applied for a Canada Summer Jobs Grant, and at first we were unsuccessful, but we were informed in mid-June that we were successful for $12,000 that covered 5 staff for 8 weeks of summer camp leaders, camp coordinator, and it was a great addition to our summer plan. The residents at the Fur Park Village has donated their 20 passenger bus. This bus, a bus this size will provide us an opportunity for convenient transportation of large groups to local and non-local destinations. This has been a huge advantage to us getting kids around town to different attractions, different parks, different out to the lake, and it's been a big hit so far in the last couple of weeks. At our summer kickoff, Clark Power, Remax, Mid-Island Realty covered the cost of creating a promotional video to promote our summer kickoff. This video will be used in future years, and it was great to have a local business support our special event. Some of the special events we hosted during this quarter included the National Health and Fitness Day, which occurred on Saturday, June 1st, provided free fitness activities that were scheduled throughout the community. Included lane swimming and public swim. We saw about 130 swimmers, pickleball, 36 participants, and yoga in the park. During the month of June, we participated in the Participation Community Challenge, which ran from June 1st to 30th. We finished about 14th in BC, and it was a great opportunity to partner with the ACRD residents in this challenge. The Father's Day at the McLean Mill saw about 80 participants, and our annual summer kickoff saw about 700 kids and families at this event. Admissions at the pool as we get closer to summer decreases, but still very busy for lane swimming and public swims. Swimming lessons continue to be very popular with long wait lists. We're working to support our staff be more confident in teaching kids in lessons. Our advanced leadership courses were scheduled. Unfortunately, there was not enough registrants to run the courses, as the Life Saving Study does have a minimum requirement for these courses to run. In recreation, our hockey and skating programs, although a short season in the spring, was very popular with over 200 kids participating from beginner all the way up to advanced skating lessons as well as private lessons. In recreation programs for children and youth off the ice, again, very popular, close to 300 kids participating in a variety of programs ranging from mountain biking to cooking and baking, arts, and our pro days and spring break camps is very popular. Our adult programs were also did very well this spring with 300 participants in a variety of registered programs ranging from arts, fitness, and dance. Looking ahead, for the summer, we are open Monday to Friday, 6 a.m. until 8:30 p.m. We'll be having swimming lessons Monday to Friday, 9 to 12, and those lessons are doing very well. We have 5 instructors in the water teaching for 2-week lesson sets, and as Director Thorpe mentioned earlier, with the shutdown being delayed until closer to the end of August, that gives us a full 2-week lesson set to get an additional 100 to 150 kids in lessons. Hockey and skating, a number of hockey camps will be offered throughout the summer, which is something new this year. Last year we started with very small, just doing 1 or 2 weeks of camps. This week we have about 6 weeks of camps for hockey, ranging from beginner to advanced. Recreation programs for children and youth. Of course, our summer program is very popular right now. We have 1 summer camp coordinator, 3 bus drivers, 8 summer camp leaders, 13 program instructors, and 25 ADSS volunteers. And up until, as of today, we have 838 kids registered in our 9 weeks, but we're anticipating close to 1,000 by the end of the summer. That's all I got for aquatics and recreation.
Questions? Yes, Councillor Haggard.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just want to congratulate the Parks and Rec staff for providing or for offering such a variety of programs and the high caliber programs that you're offering this summer. They're fantastic. And just as a side note, I have 2 grandsons that are coming to attend a hockey camp, and Grandma gets to go to the rink. Very excited.
Any other councillors? Nope. Oops, I just turned myself off here. Couple of questions. Swimming instructors. So we have more people taking lessons to become instructors, and what will be our capacity at the end for after September?
So currently we have a swim instructor course being offered right now. We're just going into week 2 of a 2-week course. And so there's about 6 candidates in that course. And then once they're done, they are welcome to apply if they have their lifeguarding certification. And so we'll be looking at applications. We are always accepting applications in the fall.
That's great to hear. That's wonderful. The other one is regarding crews, 7 days a week. I love that, and it's really great seeing them the crews out there working in the Saturday, Sunday type of thing, and I think it's great. So a lot of communities do 7 days a week, and I think that's really important that we just carry on doing that. So kudos to whoever came up with that idea. Thank you. And the other one is summer camps. I have 2 grandchildren who are in it, and they're well known back there, Harvey and Dusk, right? And they do it, they're in every camp for the whole summer. And my daughter says it's actually much better than being at home because they are learning. So your instructors are instructing them and teaching them at the same time. So every child that's in there, it's great opportunity, great variety. So keep doing what you're doing.
Thank you. I'll pass that off to the instructors.
Okay, and the other one is regarding trees. So we've planted a lot more trees, especially on the Key to Key and in different areas. So how are we able to, I mean, it's great. I'm sure Mayor Manuez is going, yeah, because she's big on trees, as we all know. But how do we maintain it? I mean, eventually, you know, like I noticed that some of them are bagged, but you have to open the bag and water them. So do we have the capacity to do this? Because as we plant more and more, do we need more staff? Where are we gonna go with that? I mean, I'm sure that takes up a lot of time when you open one bag and go through the motions.
Thank you for the question. Yes, so as the trees get older, we take them off the tree watering route. Implementing our new water truck this year added some time for us to add additional trees and services to parks. With the weekend staff as well, it allows us more hours in a day to plant trees and then water the trees as they're planted. But we currently are very close to capacity, so we're looking at potential grant funding for equipment, tree planting, that kind of stuff.
Okay, because that's my concern too, is like if you have to open the bag, how long does that take? And then you gotta, once your water is out, you gotta go back and go, you know, like, so how long, you know? So that's my question, is something to look down in the future, you know, about how many trees do we plant? I love trees, but how many do we go with?
Thanks for the question. So currently, the trees that we are planting, we're starting to focus on irrigated sites. That way, these sites are not needing labor. We have water to water these trees and then adapt from there.
That's great that you're looking forward into the future, so I'm really happy with that. Any other questions, council? No? Thank you very much. Somebody want to move the report? Am I missing? Oh, forget it. No, come on.
We saved the best
That
for
is
last,
really
Krista.
important. Human resources is a very important, so come and join us.
Krista, we saved the best for last.
I was just so excited about Parks and Rec, so there you go.
Okay, well, thank you, Madam Chair and committee members. I have learned something looking at the previous reports tonight. I have to figure out how I can incorporate some photos to make my report a little bit more interesting for everybody. Yeah, okay. So photos for next quarter, definitely. So you've all seen the report included in the agenda. It's the quarterly report for the period ending June 30th of 2024. I will touch on just a few highlights of it verbally. I won't go through the overview. That's a very high level list of the things that HR does to support city departments, and we will be touching on that a little bit later with the service level report as well. And I will note, and we'll probably do this every time, that much of the work performed by my department is confidential or legal in nature, so it's not appropriate to be reported on here. So a few of the highlights for Q2, and a few of the other directors have spoken to it, but we did support Parks, Public Works, and Recreation in securing the last of their seasonal staffing. So between those three departments, they bring on a contingent of outside workers as well as recreation staff to support all of the programs that are so well received by community. And so this involves a lot of support by human resources. We did conclude and launch the new onboarding checklist process. So this seems probably like not a big deal, but when we bring on new employees, it involves a lot of different steps, a lot of different notifications, a lot of different things that need to be done to ensure that a new employee's onboarding process is smooth, welcoming, sets them up for success in their new role. So that was concluded with the help of IT, and we've launched that process. So it's going very well so far. We did have a bit of an organizational restructure, and I believe Jim McDonald spoke to it, just reorganizing some of our employee groups within Parks and Public Works and Facilities Maintenance. So looking at kind of efficiencies with regards to reporting relationships for employees that are doing similar kind of work, but were in different departments previously. So that obviously involved a number of different steps and some planning in a lot of different departments. Recruitment, posting activity continued to be high. I suspect this will continue for the next I don't know, probably the rest of my career. Specifically, we did do interviews for 14 different positions in this quarter. So just to give you a little bit of a sense of kind of the bulk of that work. With regards to safety, we've included a number of the key safety statistics in the report again, and we'll continue to do so. And we continue to work to support departments to reduce our first aids, to reduce our lost time injuries, and continue to provide modified work opportunities where appropriate. We did receive the core audit rebate, premium rebate this quarter. So the work was concluded at the very end of 2023, submitted in 2020, Q1 of 2024, but we also actually saw the money come back. So that was $49,000, which is a good sum. It does take a lot of work on an annual basis by primarily the HR and safety advisor in my department, but we're coordinating with a lot of other departments. So it's nice to see some dollars come back as a result of that effort. That role also continues to work closely with other departments, looking at our working on loan procedures, our emergency response plans, and risk assessments for a number of key activities and tasks that our employees do. I spoke of this, the training SharePoint site last time, and we've now concluded that and ready to launch. And I think that will be instrumental for our ability as an organization to keep up to date with our compliance and safety training, know when people are certified, when their certifications expire, and support department managers in managing those pieces for their employees. So turning to police support services, we had success recruiting in that area as well. We've brought on 3 additional casual custodial guards. I say we've hired them. What happens when somebody starts work at the RCMP detachment is that they have to go through a very stringent security clearance process. So we've hired them at this point. It'll be likely 4 to 6 months prior to their actual start. We've completed some key internal cross-training for staff at that department as well, allows people to relieve in different areas. And preparations continued for the facility improvements and administrative support requirements that are going to come into play with body-worn cameras. And again, that's still expected in the first quarter of 2025. So looking forward, priorities for Q3 for the department include the continuation of the collective bargaining process with QP. We're in progress on that at this point, and we have additional bargaining dates set for September. We, like with every season it seems, we have a number of recruitment activities that are in play now and in advance of September. Recreation is a big area where every new season there's need for new people. And the training site, as I mentioned. And at the RCMP, some of what I've already spoken about, but an assessment for our administrative staff requirements. We'll continue to be talking about that. And it's already happened, but it was looking forward in Q3 was the welcoming of the new officer in charge. So Inspector Kim Bruce started at the detachment the second week of July, and I'm sure we'll be here to meet all of you soon. And I'm happy to answer any questions anyone has.
Questions from council? No? Oh, Councillor Haggard, sorry.
Not a question, I just want to make a comment. I know these reports are probably a pain in the you-know-what for staff to write, but I find them very valuable to keep us updated on what you've done and what you're working on and what's been completed. So I just want to thank each staff member so much for doing this. Thank you.
Okay. And I think it's the public too that really want to hear from you, not just from council. So I think that's really important out there because there's a lot of people that have moved into our community that don't know what departments do. And I think that's the most valuable thing right there. Thank you. Anybody else? No. Okay, thank you. Oh, sorry. Afterthought? Okay, go for it.
If it's time, Madam Chair, move that the Committee of the Whole receive the quarterly reports from the Engineering, Public Works, Finance and IT, Parks, Recreation and Culture, and Human Resources Department for the period of April 1st to June 30th, 2024.
Second by Councillor Dame. Any more discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, next, correspondence. Nope, service level report, sorry. And go ahead, Corporate Officer.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I think corporate services is up first, but we also have the community safety and social development, human resources, and engineering and public works departments bringing forward their service level reports. So I'll do the corporate services and legislative services side, and then I'll turn it over to Mary Claire to do the community safety and social development. And we also have Sonia here to handle any questions about communications you have for the legislative services and corporate services side. So,
Before you start, Councillor Patola.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I want to give this next report my full attention, and I'm wondering if I can't suggest we adjourn for 5 minutes to stretch our legs. We've been here for 2.5 hours now.
Oops, does that work for council? Okay, we will start back up at 22. Thank you. 5-minute break. back, we're back, we're back. All right, corporate services.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So the service level reports for corporate services and legislative services, we've included a little section more for the public, just kind of awareness around what, the budget that's included for council and legislative services. So that includes things around, council receptions, as well as just the general like wages, wages and per diems for councilors. Because we have that budgeted, it's just a small section within the report that breaks out, just some general principles of municipal government taken from the Act, and then the role of mayor and council as the kind of the outline of the service that council provides and the function that they perform, obviously within the municipality. So with that, we've included just that section of budget that also pertains directly to council. So just kind of a brief overview, remuneration and benefits, contract services, memberships, public receptions, software licensing supplies, and any election expenses are reflected within this section. Most of that is, memberships within, LGMA or licenses that we really have across the organization as well. Anything, within council computers or those kinds of software things are included in here. And like all the other service level reports, we've captured kind of the council expectations. Now, because this is the first service level reports we're really bringing forward in this template, what the expectations outlined here are really just administration's kind of attempt to capture what council's put forward as part of their strategic planning and what's captured within legislation for what guides council's decision-making processes when they look at services. So when it comes to the council section or the legislative side here, really it's around the legislation. So the Community Charter and Local Government Act is the kind of foundational documents, the legal documents that guide council's decision-making, and the 5-year financial plan guiding the financial decision-making, the OCP as the guide to decisions on planning and land use management. The 4-year strategic plan is a very crucial document that guides council's kind of long-term planning over the course of its term. That's reviewed, annually as part of council's process to check in. And then looking forward and using these service level reports for council to use these opportunities to review services and incorporate that in the budget process. And then further, just the master plans. Obviously, we're going through a lot of development in that area and how those master plans will then guide a lot of decision-making for service levels and budgets and really the business of the municipality as a whole. So within that, then within the services that are kind of provided, we've outlined successes and challenges. So the successes are those things where with the projects outlined within council's strategic plan and the priorities and the discussions council has around strategic planning, is we've taken, kind of the areas that have been complete or close to complete or have made significant progress as successes throughout the year, where the challenges and opportunities reflect kind of the barriers to success or why we haven't made certain progress in certain areas. So for council, we're looking at, progress within the SETI initiative, the accessibility plan that was recently passed, and significant progress on the key to key pathway. Of course, there's many, many more. And there's so many decisions of council, but we've kind of focused directly on things that tie directly to the strategic plan for this first kind of attempt at covering the service levels. For challenges and opportunities, we've got significant number of out-of-date agreements. That's not so much falling on council, of course, but council does approve a lot of these agreements and leases. And of course, being kind of a barrier to moving forward as a municipality is as we kind of have these bylaws and policies and agreements that are kind of lagging behind, it becomes a challenge to obviously progress and further council's direction in a lot of ways. And then master plans, because we've had an absence of those in the past, obviously getting those done is, it takes time, and it is foundational to a lot of decision making. So that is a current challenge that we hope to overcome once those master plans are in place. For the 2024 council priorities, it's again just kind of a drawn from the strategic planning process, and a lot of the key projects that have been outlined there. Again, doesn't necessarily mean that these priorities will be absolutely complete in 2024, but that there's significant progress that is made. So it ties kind of towards the now, next, later, where we can talk about some of the council priority statuses for these items. And it also includes some things that have just come up in council resolutions as priorities, maybe not in the strategic planning process, but as highlighted items for administration to make significant work on. The 2025 council priorities, that kind of reflects upcoming things for the year ahead. And then the communication format reflects where council and the community will see some of these decisions for 2025 coming forward, or if they have already been made, through the financial planning process or whatever, then that's kind of where they can expect to see them. I'll move into the corporate services area after that overview with council. So corporate services really encompasses three main department areas. So there's corporate services and administration, communications, and community safety and social development. The council services really encompasses a lot of what corporate services offers. Most of our services in corporate services are internal. We work with other departments and we work closely with council. The public, what they see is a lot of the work corporate services does with council and the decisions that come out of that. We work closely with like individuals and individual community groups. That's more on leases and a lot of background things that not necessarily come to the public outside of council meetings. So the council services is in the scheduling, preparation of reports, agenda preparation, minutes, and post-council processes. A lot of this is legislated, and we have certain requirements we have to meet for that. We also manage the correspondence for council. That includes everything that comes to council meetings and information distributed to council from community groups and individuals and regular correspondence. Corporate administration includes the corporate services, clerks, administration, and casual staffing, agreements and contracts, maintaining the bylaws and policies of the municipality, as well as the records management program, preparing of the annual report in conjunction with every department within the municipality as a legislative requirement, and coordinating with legal and overall legislative compliance within the municipality. A lot of that means working with many departments again, and legislative compliance is really just ensuring that the city is meeting its legislative obligations for any relevant legislation that comes across. And so with that comes the coordination with legal for various advice items. So the public-facing piece of corporate services is around public inquiries. We deal with a lot of individual requests that we process either from council, coming from the public, or from the public directly to administration, and working with all the departments to come up with responses to those items to ensure that we're providing expedient and timely replies to the public for their questions. We also deal with freedom of information and protection of privacy requests. Those are also legislated. We deal with the insurance claims that come to the municipality, elections, by-elections, and referendums. And we also serve as commissioner for taking oaths and affidavits. Again, much of our service levels are determined by legislation. So, there's a number of things like the annual report that have very specific timelines for us to fulfill. Same with when we deal with elections or by-elections, we have legislation that guides everything we do there. We also, our service levels are governed by council priorities and resolutions. So we basically govern our priorities based on council direction and within that legislative framework. We do what we can to proactively address agreements, contracts, policies, bylaws as resources allow. So the overview of the corporate services budget, very similar to council in that we have a lot of contract services, memberships and subscriptions, software licensing. So there's quite a bit rolled up in there, just tiny, kind of small items. And, you know, general supplies, legal fees, and then advertising for a variety of items that come through corporate services for land dispositions or just ads for programs. For the council expectations of corporate services, it's focused on the legislation that guides us, as well as, you know, council's meeting agendas and minutes are prepared accurately and in a timely fashion that we're in line with council bylaws, as well as legislation, and that the contracts and agreements that we negotiate are aligned with council direction, strategic priorities, and the relevant bylaws and policies, and that the advice that corporate services provides to council for anything legislative compliance or through legal advice is accurate and is sufficient for council to make their decisions. The successes of corporate services are really we have the approval of the executive assistant position and the hiring of the bylaw and policy analyst position. We see those two items as helping really advance some of the areas that we've seen challenges in corporate services and to alleviate certain pressure points, specifically in allowing corporate services to focus more energy on the bylaws and policies and agreements that have become quite outdated. We're really hoping to be able to make significant progress on those areas. We've had the annual report approved recently. The claims against the city have been low, which is a tribute to, not to corporate services, but really the policies and practices of the city. We do receive a number of claims, but the city is not found liable in a large number of those. All FOIs have been completed within legislative timelines, and we've had a number of key agreements approved. Obviously, there's still a significant number of agreements that have to be worked on. So with that, we have challenges in reviewing and renewing agreements. With many of our agreements in holdover, there's been challenges in proactively reviewing bylaws and policies, as well as even just advancing policies and bylaws that we've, you know, received direction to move. It's not that we don't intend to, it's really just, it's resources. And then there's just an increasing complexity. This is across the board, not just for Port Alberni, but all municipalities are dealing with the increased complexity and scope of council meeting agendas and decisions that councils have to make. A lot of that stems from, you know, certain challenges that council's already aware of with, you know, provincial downloading of responsibilities and stuff. There just creates challenges across the board for council decision-making as well as administrative staff time and work. And then lastly, records management processes with the city are quite behind in both paper records management, but also in the fact that the city does not have much electronic records management capabilities at this time. So the 2024 council priorities, some of that will be addressed in upcoming service level reports as far as the derelict buildings, but agreements and renegotiated with certain areas, working on a report guide and policy, and reviewing council's procedures bylaw. And then the priority status, for those, most of those are ongoing, hoping to make progress in the fall yet before year end. 2025 continues with addressing nuisance properties, and of course, policy and bylaw review. There are a number of priorities in those areas. So with communications, just moving on to that section, this will be rather brief because a lot of it does fall within corporate services as well, but specifically they really handle the social media management for the organization, website and contact management, media inquiries, interviews, and monitoring news media and for issuing corrections. News releases and bulletins, newsletters, brochures, pamphlets, and signage. That goes for many departments. They kind of have their hand, like corporate services, in working with all departments on these items. We work with council for their public engagement speaking notes. And then we're working towards corporate communications plans, both for internal and external guidelines, working with departments for their public engagement, and city branding and branding resources, graphic design, developing staff resources as it relates to communications and templates used throughout the city. The operating budget for communications is actually rolled up into corporate services, so any licensing, those are kind of the big ones, is licensing and advertising within communications specifically. A lot of council expectations for communications would be around the accurate and timely provision of information to the public. Obviously, the things we put out on social media and the website, and responsiveness to council as far as getting speaking notes to them on time for their engagements, and that those speaking notes are sufficient to what council needs. That city branding is consistent across all platforms, and the city is involved in sharing events that are going on in the community, and that the communications are engaged with community groups and organizations. So the successes that the communications department has experienced are engagement increasing on social media and the website consistently, and increases in news release and social media postings. Since the position has been filled, we've noticed obviously having communications manager available to us has really advanced communications with the city of Port Alberni and just made it more consistent. And some of the challenges are still around policies and processes as that position gets settled and integrated within the entire organization and the community. Council priorities, we've got to develop a corporate communications plan for internal and external stakeholders. Drafts are in progress with those, and then for 2025, there is budget for a website redesign. And with that, I will turn it over to Mary Claire for bylaw services.
Anybody have any questions for this segment? Nope. All right. Welcome, Mary Clay.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So for this section, I'll elaborate on what Danielle talked about with community safety and social development. So that our area encompasses three key areas: the bylaw department, the community policing, and social development. So I'll start off with bylaw services. The policy that guides our bylaw services is the bylaw enforcement policy. And our enforcement priorities are really identified in three different ways: the violations against public health and safety, proactive enforcement of bylaws identified by council priorities, and valid complaints as time allows as level 3, which is complaints involving significant negative impacts to adjacent properties or public property. So our priority bylaws, we have 8 of them: parking enforcement, unsightly premises, property and boulevard maintenance, building and zoning bylaws, littering and dumping, camping in public spaces, and signage and street storage. The services that we provide there's 9 different services. I'm not going to repeat them all. You've all read the report. But the metrics that we look at reporting on are the number of complaints that we receive, the number of active and open files, the number of completed files, number of tickets issued, the fine amounts, the outstanding fines. We also track the number of dog licenses issued and the dog license revenue received. So with that, On the next page, you can see our operating budget. This budget also includes social development. So any of the fees that we receive from dog licenses, vacant buildings, and fines and parking tickets. The next section is our wages for the staffing, the contract services, legal fees, etc. And then we carry on to the wages for and benefits for anything to do with the shop, if we have to, have vehicles in, insurance and equipment, supplies, etc. Utilities and maintenance, and then finally our parking enforcement and our animal control services, because we have the SPCA contract within our budget. On page 59 of your package, that's when we really get into our service levels. So council expectations are the implementation of a tiered proactive enforcement approach as established by the policy, regularly reviewing council's enforcement expectations and priorities, meeting service standards set out by the City of Port Alberni, and working collaboratively with all the city departments, including building, planning, parks, recreation, culture, etc. Some of the successes that we've had this year have been the approach that we have been taking to encampments and unhoused people through really working in partnership with the community outreach teams and first responder agencies. That's been a huge success for us. We've also had a little bit of success in the recovery and return of stolen properties, just being proactive and noticing things and returning them to the rightful owner. Some of our challenges have been the temporary reduction in bylaw officers, the lack of resources and follow-up for fine adjudication, and the collections process. The 2024 council priorities and status are the management of derelict buildings, and we have a nuisance abatement working group that meets on a monthly basis. And that working group has been working extremely well together to identify nuisance properties, and then to keep our eye on certain other properties to maintain what's going on within them. The establishment of a collections policy and process for 2025 implementation, and that's working very closely with the position that Danielle spoke about with the policy and bylaw analyst that has been hired. So we've worked really closely with her, as well as updating the bylaws and operational procedures. And then the management of the graffiti removal program. I'll speak a little bit more to that in a little while. The 2025 council priorities and our communication format is to implement parking enforcement, a collections policy, updating bylaws, and management of derelict buildings. We really, we work extremely well with Sonia in communications to really try to be proactive in communicating council's decisions through social media to communicate our bylaw initiatives and education. You may have seen a recent one about both the graffiti removal program and and how we manage encampments and people that are camping within the city. Communication at networking tables, we have several of those, and so we try to really get out and network within the community, bring that information back. And public engagement to continue with community safety initiatives. So that's the bylaw area. Do you want me to pause for questions in between?
We can ask. Anybody have questions? Yes, Councillor Haggard.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Mary Claire, I'm just looking at the budget, and under contract services, there's $266,000 under there. Is that due to the Port Pub? Okay, so if those fines get paid, that will go back into your budget then? Perfect, thank you.
Yes, that's exactly true.
Councillor Dame?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm just wondering, who does the nuisance abatement group comprise of, and what exactly does their process look like?
Okay. The nuisance abatement working group was re-established in 2023, and it's comprised of various city departments. So we have corporate services, development services, fire department, and of course bylaw, and as well, external partners are the RCMP, for a second, the social development and poverty reduction, just escaped me for a second, Island Health, Environmental Health. We've also had, recently, we've invited other BC Housing and the Landlord and Tenancy branch as well. And so it's a monthly meeting that we have, and we discuss various properties within the city.
Anybody else? Nope. I'm very happy with that committee, you know that. And who are the players in that committee. It's great that this is happening, and looking forward to seeing the results. But you also take it's also done on complaints from the public too, right? So that's really important. So what do the public need to do if they want?
Yeah, so thank you for the question. The bylaw department is a complaint-driven department, so we track those complaints, and we track where they are, and are they the frequent buildings or frequent areas, and as well as the reports from us, then fire reports on their calls, the RCMP reports on their calls as well. So combined, we look at, is there a specific area that we need to be looking at, and what is it that we need to be looking at? Is it a vacant property? Is it a service that there's a number of calls to? So really varies to the area. And individuals within the community, we track those complaints as well. And so anytime people have complaints about a specific property, then we track that. We discuss it at the working group level.
Thank you. So we can carry on. Thank you.
Thank you. So now I'm going to move into community policing. As you are well aware, Dave Couson is the manager of community policing. And we have a very active community policing program, which is volunteer-based. The core activities of the community policing program, there's actually 13 core activities that are being conducted by the Port Alberni Community Policing Program. So you can see the list in your report. When we did our environmental scan a number of months ago, we checked in with a number of other community policing programs, and we tallied all the different activities up that other programs are offering. We're currently offering 13 of 19 different core activities, and this is all within the RCMP framework for community policing. The programs that we're offering are the Crime Watch Vehicle Patrol that you are very familiar with. We've introduced foot patrols as an enhanced measure to the Crime Watch Vehicle Patrol. We have the Speed and Distracted Driving Watch, the Property Crime Awareness, the Lockout Crime and Stolen Auto Recovery. Those are 2 ICBC programs. The Youth Police Camps, the Project 529 Bike Registration, Block Watch, Business Link, which is the community crime prevention through environmental development. That's our Business Link. the Community Policing Office Administration, and the special events. The programs that are not offered currently by the city, the 6 programs are the graffiti cleanup, the emergency preparedness, car seat clinics, child fund registration, fail to stop, and bike patrols. The city, we are looking to, and we've already started implementing an enhanced graffiti cleanup program through the use of the community policing volunteers by when they are delivering, doing their foot patrols. We've created a flyer that they can actually go into the businesses and use that as an opportunity to check in with the businesses and also say, hey, are you aware of our graffiti cleanup program? So it's another way to communicate the program, and we're looking at doing more of that in partnership with the community policing program. We've also reached out to the Chamber of Commerce and Community Futures to ask them to help promote the graffiti cleanup program as well. The metrics that we report on for the community policing are the number of volunteers, their hours that they contribute, vehicles inspected for the stolen auto recovery program, the number of enhanced crime watch foot patrols conducted, and the number of businesses that they check in with. Number of distracted driving, drivers tracked, and numbers reported to the RCMP. That number is then in turn reported to the RCMP. The number of speeding drivers tracked, and then we in turn report to the RCMP. The crime awareness letters, the number of vehicles registered, the number of hours of Crime Watch patrol, and the number of community events. In the community policing budget on page 61 of your package, we have the budget is the transfer from reserve is the total amount, and then the budget comprises of contract services, the membership and subscriptions, software, supplies, utilities, the vehicle, and wages and benefits. Through the supplies, you'll see that that's a fairly high budget. That's because they do a number of volunteer appreciation events, and it's really to thank the volunteers for their contribution. So moving along, in the council expectations are to maintain the core activities that we currently deliver, provide community policing initiatives we're really trying to engage a diverse subset of volunteers. We have plans to expand that for next year. I'll talk about that in a second, to include youth and young adults, and represent the city as a community safety resource at community events throughout the community. The successes for this year have been the enhancement of the Crime Watch core activity through the modification of the Crime Watch program to include foot patrols. I believe that we're only one of a couple of different communities that's actually doing that. The challenges are volunteer recruitment, risk management for the volunteers, including the foot patrols and how to maintain their safety, the public perception on the levels of community safety service, levels expectation for the volunteers. The priorities are for 2024 are the enhancement of community safety activities by expanding the foot patrols, researching other options for additional community safety programs. So that's ongoing, that's an ongoing discussion. Our 2025 council priorities and communication format are to continue with the core activities and add new ones as appropriate, such as graffiti removal, and carry on with those 13 core activities. The communications format that we take advantage of is with our communications department. We've had really good success with communicating decisions, using social media, and also other media as well. And we have a grant for the ads for that as well. And then seeking communication opportunities to recruit more volunteers. So before I carry on to social development, I'll just ask if you have any questions.
Questions from council? Yes, Councillor Mealy.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just something just came to me. He's looking for seeking communication opportunity to recruit more volunteers. Have we offered or collaborated with the high school to offer graduation hours for their volunteer time?
Thank you for that question. Yes, we certainly have, and we will be expanding that more and taking advantage of our linkage with the RCMP camp that is held as well, and building off of that. We also have more thinking to do and planning and structuring it. And so you can just, if I can just give a little teaser, that just stay tuned on that, because that's an expansion that we are looking at for a project for next summer.
Councillor Patola.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This is an excellent report, which I had the pleasure of reading before this meeting. And Madam Chair, I'm wondering if perhaps the presenters of the reports could hit the highlights. We're at page 63 of 107 pages on our agenda. And I'm thinking we need to move along, especially if this is all information that we've already had the opportunity to process. I understand that this certainly provides a great service to anybody that's watching online or on YouTube or later on to be able to get the full flavor of the reports. But they're also available online. So I'm just wondering if perhaps the presenters could just give the guts of it. Thanks.
And we're almost at the end too. But I have a question regarding the graffiti program. So you mentioned that you go into the businesses and you talk about it, but what about the landlords that aren't there, where the empty buildings, you know, what happens there? And that's one question, so I'll go.
Thank you for the question, and thank you. I appreciate your comment, Councillor Patola. For the landlords that are not there, this is a new process that we've just implemented this week. And so we certainly will be contacting the landlords that aren't there, but that is a work in progress.
Fair enough. And how many volunteers do we have right now involved? Roughly is good.
I don't want to be wrong, but I believe we have 25 last count. And that number does change. We usually get at least a few each year, I think, new ones. Dave is really quite good at using his volunteers to try to expand the program themselves through their connections, but also at community events. We're also looking at more recruitment opportunities through advertising on radio and attending community events to try to generate more interest in the program as well.
Nice, and it's great to have foot patrols. It'd be interesting to see how the businesses at the end will make comment if it's worked for them or if it hasn't, and I think that's important. So good for you.
Thank you, and it gives us a good opportunity to do a check-in by delivering a flyer on an initiative that's going on. So it's kind of a twofold approach. So
nice. Anybody else? No? Okay. Carry on.
And lastly, community social development. So the I'll skip right down to council expectations or the collaboration and the community engagement. And to accomplish the identified action items for both the Continuum of Care Coalition that was recently created and the situation table that will be launched in September. And then our second priority or expectation is to advance those action plans. Some of the successes that we've had have been to gather people together and to really start working as a Continuum of Care Coalition. And then the situation table has been very successful as well. The challenges and opportunities, a new one that we have that we'll be working on is collaborating with the outreach teams throughout the city to identify if there might be an opportunity to have a 24/7 bypass, 24/7 contact through a cell phone that's passed around, or we're going to work through that. And that was an outcome that came through recently at one of our meetings. So that's a benefit. And certainly the priorities, they're ongoing. And for 2025, it's advancing any of the decisions by council, senior management, and the Community of Care Coalition and the situation table.
Thank you. Is that short enough? Questions? Go ahead, Councillor Patola.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I do have a question with regarding the Continuum of Care Coalition and the situation table. What are those? What are their purposes? What's it all about?
So the Continuum of Care Coalition came about after we held the gap analysis workshop, where many of the service providers and first responder agencies and government agencies attended. And they determined that we need to have a coalition that gets together as a health coalition, including mental health, and we meet on a quarterly basis. So that was an outcome. And this is a new initiative, and we created an action plan, and we have certain priorities that we're going to work towards this year. And it's also a communication network as well. So that's that one coalition. The situation table is a completely different approach. It is a risk-based approach of interventions using a risk model that, and the interventions would then be delivered by the services for individuals who are at high risk. And it's immediate service, it's wraparound service, and it's, you're talking about one person at a time. So the whole risk matrix, you may never get to the point of going into the intervention level because it might have been assessed that you don't need to because it's a level 1 or level 2. But it's a model that has been implemented in several other communities, and we've had the grant for the training since 2022, and it's just been this year that we've been able to implement it.
Any other questions? No? Okay, thank you. Oh, sorry, you did put up your hand, Councillor Haggard, sorry.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I was fortunate enough to attend the Continuum of Care Gap Analysis workshop and also the initial meeting of the situation table. And I just want to say these are both great initiatives for our community, so thank you.
All right, that's it.
Good, thank you.
And next, Human Resources, I believe. You're up. I didn't forget about you this time.
Okay, thank you. You are all going to have had enough of me after tonight, aren't you? So thank you, Madam Chair and committee members. So included in your agenda package and on the screen now is the first edition of the service level report for the Human Resources Department and includes the municipal police support services as well. And I've attempted to include what I hope provides the committee with information regarding the different services provided by these departments and the levels of service currently being provided. I will say I did find this report to be a bit challenging given the type of work performed by these work groups. It is somewhat less easily measured by quantifiable outcomes and easy to identify metrics than some other areas. So would look for any input the committee has with regards to what they'd like to see on that side moving forward. The first section is regarding human resources, and I won't repeat what's up there. I did take opportunity to give quite a level of detail with regards to all of the different work that HR does. I am well aware that it's not work that is normally in front of council. It's not public facing. It's not things that I feel that council is maybe aware of all of the different pieces. So took opportunity to outline a bunch of them. And if anybody has any questions of any of those items, I'd be happy to answer those questions. Different than most departments of the city, HR is definitely provides service to internal customers rather than external customers. So that's different. The level of service, from my perspective, is determined in many cases by cyclical and regular human resource activities that take place, but also is very much event driven. So something happens, and then there's a level of support. There's either a number of different HR processes or things that need to happen, or a level of support for a department that then ensues. As I said, many of the metrics are hard to quantify. We can count different things, but each of those different things, if I look at number of recruitments, one recruitment can be a very simple process, another recruitment can take a number of different posting processes, number of different interviews. So very difficult to say based on this number of a certain item that drives a certain body of work. It's not that straightforward. I would say the other way to look at level of service, I think, or more accurately, is how responsive are we? How able to support the HR functions of the city, the things that the city needs done in the HR realm, are we able to do? And then how able are we to move forward anything that's long-term strategic, going to move the organization forward with new and different ideas? And so that's kind of how I was looking at level of service. Again, much of that council probably doesn't see so much. We're made up of two employees, and we also access some administrative support from corporate services. So we have half of an FTE that corporate services graciously lends us. And so my assessment is that at current staffing levels and budget resources or budget allocations, we are providing, I would say, an adequate level of service, but missing the ability right now to, like I said, move anything forward that's strategic or long-term in nature. So looking at the budget slide, I won't speak to any of this unless there's any specific questions. Many of the descriptions are things that you've seen on different presentations already. So keep going. Okay, so going to the next slide. I don't think I'll speak to a lot of this in detail, given that you've read it all. The council expectations were really, it was a little bit different than with some other departments where they're able to very specifically look at the strategic priorities of council and insert those into what the expectations of council would be. So I've taken some guidance from those documents, but also kind of, I guess, put my understanding on it. So would welcome any suggestions from council now or at a later time with regards to what the expectations are for HR. Some of the successes, we have spoken to some of these within the Q1 report and some of them again today, so won't repeat myself there. In terms of challenges and opportunities, some day-to-day activities are being maintained, or the day-to-day activities, again, strategic and long-term projects are not being progressed. Recruitment continues to be a challenge. for a number of positions. And I know that council is aware of this across most industries and workplaces these days. I think that recruitment is a challenge, and we have an additional factor currently where we're unable to pay what we believe to be competitive rates for some of our positions, given the parameters that are currently contained in our collective agreement. So we're, hoping to resolve that issue. Administrative support, I think that's probably a concern in many areas, but the level of administrative support that we have, again, makes us not as efficient with some tasks as we'd like to be. And as with many areas, I think, frequent and increasing changes to legislative requirements. So there's a lot of our work that we do that is confined or defined by legislation, different rules, health and safety rules. And so those are changing regularly and becoming increasingly prevalent in many different areas. So that continues to be a challenge or an opportunity. I've outlined some different council priorities for 24 and 25. And again, would love input on those if anybody sees anything that doesn't fit there.
Councillor Bertilla.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just wondering if you could give an example, could be hypothetical because it might be something you can't tell us, but new strategic or long-term or long-range projects, what would fall into that category of something that we could be doing that we're not?
Yeah, so a couple of examples come to mind right away. We do some level of succession planning, but we do not have a robust, continuous succession planning process that is, is an ongoing thing, and it should be. An organization of our size, we should be looking to, project when our vacancies are going to occur, who we have or who are current employees. There are a couple of, we don't have a robust attendance management program currently. We're lacking in some systems to provide that information. And so those are a couple of examples. I could give you a number or a few.
And what would facilitate engaging in those types of programs?
Additional staff.
You're good. Any other questions? Stop them. Any other questions from council? Nope. Okay. Thank you.
Okay, so I have
you go on.
The second part. And so this is around police support services. So it's related to the municipal support services at the RCMP. So that's the administrative staff, the guards, the custodial, and the IT staff. And it does not include information related to the RCMP contract or levels of service as set by council for the RCMP. You'll see that I've included an organizational chart there for council's information regarding what the staff group is there. We have a manager of police support services, Kim Ivazich, who is here with me today in case I need her assistance to answer any of your tough questions. You'll see we have a number of full-time staff, a number of part-time staff. In addition to what is shown there, we also have a contingent of casual staff that provide relief. So each of those departments there on the administrative side have very specific roles that they fulfill, providing administrative support for the officers at the RCMP. And the work that is performed within those roles is really driven by the work that is undertaken by the RCMP members at the level of service as set by council. A number of things can go into, I've got a bug flying around. A number of things can contribute to what that work looks like, call volume, severity of call, type of call, those kinds of things. There are some metrics on that side of things that do contribute to the workload of the administrative staff. Some of that information isn't public facing, and where it's been reported in the past, it's been reported by the RCMP. So if that's information that council is looking for, then that would be the appropriate way for that information to come forward. With regards to our custodial guards, the level of service is there's one guard on 24/7 to guard prisoners as needed. So we can go to the budget slide. You will see a number of additional items there. I won't, again, speak to any of them specifically unless council has questions.
Any questions from council? Nope. Oh, yes, Councillor Patola.
Thank you, Madam Chair. In the list of services provided, I see there's a exhibits custodian, a disclosure and records clerk, and a CPIC operator. I'm wondering if those individuals work it all together, and the reason that I'm asking, and wanting to know their efficiencies, and the reason that I'm asking is because we've been made aware of the increasing disclosure requirements from the Supreme Court of Canada and the added administrative work that puts on the officers. And I'm wondering whether we are effectively alleviating the officers from the administrative duties with regards to disclosure and exhibits.
That's a great question, thank you. And I believe that there will be continued discussions on that. So there were changes made that did require, that have increased the requirements around disclosure and electronic disclosure. And there have been some changes to the way that work was initially handled with regards to some provincial employees and some officers. And so at this point, that is still, I guess, in the assessment phase to determine how that work is best done and how it is needed to be done in the future. And in one of my challenges and opportunities areas, I've noted that there's still assessment of that needed to be done.
You're good. Anybody else? Nope. Thank you. Oh, we got another one? I thought
Oh,
we were
yes,
done.
you're just getting to the good
Oh,
part.
yes, we are. Okay, sorry. I'm moving my paper.
No, again, under council expectations, attempted to glean from the strategic priorities and put some expectations there. With regard to successes, it indicated that dedicated and experienced municipal staff continue to provide administrative, the work that I've spoken of within the approved budget. We have had success in recruiting new staff. And then we have, about a year ago, had a dedicated full-time IT resource situated at the RCMP, and that has been key in recent, within the last 12 months with the increasing IT demands there. I should add, and again, I think it's a success. We do have the new inspector who has started as well, so I think that's going to be great for the detachment and the community. So with regard to challenges and opportunities, we've got body-worn cameras. That is going to require some modifications to the detachment. That is currently in the planning process. Kim and our manager of facilities are working on what is needed there, what exactly is needed, how that's going to be facilitated, and what the cost of that would be. And then the administrative support requirements just to handle the digital evidence that will come as a result of those body-worn cameras. And then the second one, speaking to what Councillor Patola was indicating, was the requirements regarding electronic disclosure and the increased administrative work. And the RCMP has requested additional support for this. And I don't think I need to speak to the rest of that.
Oops, questions. Anybody? Nope. And I know that's the end.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank
you.
Next, engineering and public works. Come on down.
Good evening. Thank you for having me. My name is Clinton Wright, Manager of Operations, and I'm here to present the Public Benches Report.
You're one ahead. We got to do service level.
I'm going to wait until the service level is thank you.
Glad job.
Sorry, I'm jumping ahead. I feel there's yeah.
We have the benefit of going last tonight, which I guess enables us to offer our colleagues work, know that you guys know the template, but essentially we are here to present what we feel are service levels tied back to the budget. So that gives council and public a better idea of what we do. So starting with the engineering department, I will not go through this verbatim. As Councillor Patola pointed out, this is there for the public to read. And but I will just kind of go through the high level what each one does. So under expectations, essentially the engineering department, we're here to be the gatekeepers of municipal standards and design principles to ensure that what is built to a good quality and built to a good standard. We also have project managers to look after our capital projects program and act as owners' representatives on behalf of the city to provide good value on those projects. And we also provide staff that support all other departments with GIS-related activities. I did my report a little bit differently in terms of the order, purely because Microsoft Word was not cooperating with me, and every time I'd make changes to my budget table, it would screw everything else up. So pardon my change in format from the other departments, but going through the successes in engineering, we've hired 2 project managers in the last year, which has bulldozed a lot of great projects and initiatives to move forward, both with capital projects as well as our master plans. So the challenges, no surprise to anyone, we have a lot of aging infrastructure, we have staff capacity, and we also need some modernization around the stuff we're working on the design standards and principles. So under council priorities with the engineering department, we've seen these on previous reports, but you can see the list of projects there that highlights the Bird Street redevelopment, SOMAS site, Key to Key, Argyle 1st to 3rd, along with status priorities to the right-hand side there. On the operating budget side, I won't go through it unless there's specific questions, but this all ties back to all of those operational levels that we have there. So, any questions?
Questions from council? Nope.
Okay, great. Moving on to Public Works. I have the benefit here of probably having the most black and white service level area with Public Works. It's pretty cut and dry what we do. It's one of the broadest spectrum of responsibilities of any department in the city, I think. And they're also pretty critical to the functionality of the day-to-day development and functionality of the city. So Public Works staff, we look after streets, bridges, sidewalks, dams, dikes. We collect and treat wastewater. We treat and distribute drinking water. We collect storm water. We do solid waste and organics and recycling collection, as well as fleet services. Within each of those respective areas, you see a number of programs and practices there within each sub-department. I'd like to present the Public Works department by sub-department. So at first, you'll see the council expectations on the next page, just a general broad stroke of what the Public Works department does. And again, just high level, what we do, we're here to operate and maintain the infrastructure in the community. We try to do it in the most safe, reliable, cost-effective manner. We want to adhere to all safety standards. We want to provide good customer service to residents on all those service levels. There's the legal and provincial, federal regulatory requirements for areas like drinking water, sewage treatment, all those things. We want to provide good response time in emergencies for both internal stuff such as water main breaks or sewage blocks, but also in assistance support to fire, police, and ambulance. And we also want to be good communicators for any emergency repairs or disruptions to our services that we provide. Again, the overarching challenge across all our department is the aging infrastructure and establishing the master plans. This is one area for sure that the master plans are going to support and assist greatly, is to provide us a very effective 5-year capital plan with priorities and understanding of each area and where we should focus our attention and valuable tax dollars. So moving on to the operating budget, this is just rolled up for the overarching Public Works, so there'll be sub-budgets presented for each one, but this has the revenue from cemetery management and then the wages and benefits and other things for staff within the Public Works department. If there's no questions on budget, I'll just keep right on going. Okay, so first department I'd like to present is the roads department. We have what's called the roads and drainage department. I've broken it apart because they're two kind of distinct areas of service. The council expectations for the roads department is fairly straightforward, completing inspections, maintenance, and prompt repairs of our roads and sidewalks to ensure safe, reliable usage for all users, safety standards, and again, communication. Some successes this year has been some of the crosswalk enhancements for pedestrian safety. And I'm going to keep repeating the aging infrastructure comment and establishment of the master plans. Under the budget for roads, we rolled it up slightly just to make it a little more user-friendly, and I apologize, I had to stretch it a bit to make it fit on the page, but there's a number of programs under here for road surface maintenance and road allowance that cover everything from potholes and gravel lane maintenance, curb and gutter replacements, sidewalk replacement and maintenance, flail mowing. So there's a pretty broad stroke level of service happening in this area. If council has any specific questions or areas of concern where we're not meeting levels of service, then we can certainly provide more information if requested.
Questions from council, Councillor Patola.
I guess when it comes to roads, the question on everybody's mind, or one that gets often repeated to us, is essentially what is the service level we should be expecting and how close are we to that?
That's $1 million question for sure. I'll attempt to answer it. From my perspective, our job is to try to maintain our road network, which includes sidewalks, of course, to a level that people can use safely and people can use efficiently and get to the places they need to without any issues, without getting hurt. Now, with that said, it's a big task. There's a lot of infrastructure out there. The master plans is certainly going to help us with level of service expectations around what we should be providing for roads in terms of the width and where our designated routes are, and there's a whole lot of variables that apply to it. It also comes with a price tag. That's the unfortunate bit, is there's a lot of work that needs to be done, and we are pretty proud of the work we do today with the budget we have, and we try to maintain our infrastructure to the best of our ability, but in the same token, we need more support with data and information to do it in a meaningful, efficient way. So we're working towards that. As you know, the master plans have been initiated and started, and all we can do is take a step forward and try to improve from yesterday.
Anybody else? I do have something regarding our master plans. I'm really looking forward to those master plans because aging infrastructure is really big on my agenda. And the thing is, Port Alberni is really unique because we have wide streets comparing to a lot of communities. So there's a lot more work that's involved. And so I'm going to be really curious to see how we're going to address all that. So, and whenever we think of taking our streets just to 2 streets instead of 4 lanes, right, to 2 lanes, people go, oh, no, you're taking away my racing track and I can't zoom down the road again, I can't pass someone. So it'll be really interesting because we'll hear community comments when we start reducing the widths of our streets. So just thought I'd bring that up. Thank you.
Thank you. I will continue on to the drainage department, which again, essentially, it's the road and drainage department. It's the same folks, but I wanted to break it apart separately due to the nature of the service level provided. So this one's fairly straightforward and short. The drainage department, our folks are there to conduct regular inspections and maintenance on drainage infrastructure, such as culverts, pipes, storm drains, swales, that type of stuff, and also to adhere to any environmental regulations and protect water quality within our community as best as possible. Some successes recently have been some proactive management of maintenance on waterways. So we've got some folks within Public Works that we're really trying to take a closer look at some of our streams and areas where our storm infrastructure discharges into, and looking at trying to do better at providing maintenance on that infrastructure. Some of the challenges with anything related within the watershed, there's always a very fine window on when we can actually complete and conduct work with fish windows and other environmental considerations. I didn't mention in the previous department, but under council priorities, I've just linked them back to some of the council strategic goals. But if there's any questions around there, by all means, happy to answer. And then similarly for the storm drainage operating budget, I can answer any specific questions, but this area is fairly straightforward.
Questions from council? No. Okay.
Okay, moving on to water. So this is drinking water. Council expectations around this were framed around, supplying a consistent, ensuring a consistent supply of clean and safe drinking water. I tried that sentence 3 times. maintaining high standards of water quality and adhering to all of our regulatory requirements and in terms of testing and monitoring and all those types of things, conducting routine maintenance and upgrades to our water distribution system, listed a few areas there, pipes, pumps, treatment facilities, and also providing excellent customer service to inquiries, complaints, and any service requests that come in from our community. Some recent successes in the water department have been the hydrant maintenance program, as well as we've really ramped up efficiency around our meter reading, and we've also enacted and started expanding our unidirectional flushing program. And challenges, again, of course, aging infrastructure, and also some challenges within the water and sewer department with recruiting and retaining certified staff within regulatory requirements. Under operating budget, you can see there the water and sewer department, bit unique in that they're not tax driven, they're utility rate driven. So you can see the revenue section up above, and then as well as the expenditures down below for staff, as well as all the other categories. If no questions, moving on to the sewer department. Basically, oh, sorry.
No, sorry, you're on a roll there. We were recently in Calgary, excuse me, in June when they had a water main break there, which was quite devastating for the community. It lasted quite a while, actually. And so that does concern me because we do have aging infrastructure. Will that come with the master plan about a plan to replace the pipes in the ground?
The master plan will not, excuse me, thank you for the question. The master plan will not specifically address condition assessment, especially with the pipe infrastructure below ground, because unless we have x-ray vision or plenty of ability, you can't necessarily camera water mains, you can on sewer mains, but we do our best to manage based around the age of the infrastructure, and also it's driven by data from when we've had issues in the past with whether water main breaks or issues of those types. We also will be looking at, I know I've worked closely with Director McGifford at what we put into our reserves, both in water and sewer, in order to look at providing water main replacement capital projects each year, and similar for the sewer mains as well.
Great, thank you for that answer.
I do have one thing about plans and stuff like that. A while back, a presentation was made by the Director of Engineering, which was Guy Sisson, and there was a study done that we needed, and I don't know if Councillor Mealy was around at that time, but we needed to put like $1 million a year away, and I'm just wondering, because we do have aging infrastructure, and I'm just wondering, do you work with that too, as well as up to date and bring it up to date, or how do you work with the old studies?
I'll try to answer that as best as I can, but we rely on industry standards to look at kind of the size of our network versus the age, condition, the number of repairs and issues we've had, and try to do our best to put away enough money to renew that infrastructure at a sustainable rate. Now, with that said, nobody wants the utility rates to go through the roof either, but we try our best to find that sweet spot where we save enough money to invest, to replace and get those older sections of pipe before they fail, and that's how we approach it.
Well, that makes sense. Technology changes, and what was good 10 years ago necessarily isn't where we're at now. Yes, Councillor Mealy.
Since you brought it up, Madam Mayor, I believe at the time, and this was 2004, I think somewhere in that area, but the the City of Port Alberni was not meeting the 50-year cycle for roads. So we were pushing it out, and we were not able to renew the roads in a 50-year cycle at the time. So.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just a quick interjection. Again, looking at the time, we're 5 minutes away from a 3-hour meeting. This isn't a comment about anybody else's. I would like to make a motion that we extend the meeting past 3 hours.
Do I have a seconder?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. I can see you really getting excited, guys.
Okay, thank you. So moving on to the sewer department, very similar service level requirements to the drinking water, just on the back end with collecting wastewater, but our council expectations would be to ensure the effective collection, treatment, and disposal of wastewater, for public health and environment. We also need to conduct regular inspections, maintenance, repairs on our infrastructure and facilities. We also need to adhere to all of our provincial and federal regulations, for wastewater treatment disposal. And also, again, providing excellent customer service for customer inquiries, complaints, and service requests. Some recent successes, as I mentioned during the quarterly report, is we've had a ramp up in our video inspection program with our new sewer crawler camera, which allows us to get more data around condition of some of those pipes. And similar to the water department, challenges aging infrastructure and staff recruitment and retention. And then similarly, moving on to the operating budget, similar to water, this is utility-driven area, so you can see the revenues in the upper table for sewer, and then the operating budget expenditures down below. And if there's no specific questions to anything, I'd be happy to answer.
Questions? Nope. Go ahead.
Okay, moving right along to solid waste. So council expectations here, ensuring timely and reliable collection, transportation, and disposal of solid waste, recyclables, and organic waste, and also providing excellent customer service regarding inquiries, complaints, or service requests. One of the successes in the solid waste department is that we've consistently been below the provincial average for contaminants and recycling for quite some time now, if I believe, which is a testament to good community education and understanding of what the program is and how it's utilized. And some of the challenges, aging equipment. Everyone was aware last year when we had some issues with a couple of trucks, unfortunately breaking down at the same time, which caused some service disruptions. We're in the middle of getting some new trucks delivered very shortly. So, and then also just around cart repair and looking at improving our system for delivery and tracking of cart repairs. And then on the operating budget, again, you'll see on the following page, it's similar to the utilities in that there's revenue in the upper table and expenditures down below. If no specific questions under solid waste.
Nope, go ahead.
I'll get through the final department, which is fleet services. We have a small but mighty team of folks that look after all the maintenance of all of our equipment and vehicles within the municipal fleet. And their job is to ensure regular maintenance, timely repairs, and operation of those vehicles. They need to ensure that the safety standards, regulatory requirements, safety inspections, all those types of things are followed, and also regarding customer service complaints and requests and those types of things. One of the successes, that Director Krista, HR Director, spoke on earlier was streamlining some of the services provided by our staff, and we've recently made some changes to both adding one heavy-duty mechanic as well as bringing one of the parks mechanics under one department to streamline all services, which we're slowly getting into now, and it's proving quite successful. And then again, challenges, aging fleet, and cost and delivery issues with procurement. Like everywhere else, it seems to be getting equipment, the price is going up, and lead time seems to be extending out significantly. And that's, the operating budget is shown on the following page. We do have some equipment charges recovery revenue, and then the expenditures are down below. If any questions, be happy to answer.
Questions? Oops, questions? Are you sure, Councillor Patola, you don't want to ask that question? Okay. I think it's important, so you may as well bring it up. We've been here this long, so what the heck?
Madam Chair, this is simply in jest, but I was in Australia and reviewing the water systems there, and they all their fluids flow in a clockwise direction. I was wondering if there was an efficiency there that we could try to obtain here.
I'm not sure I can get into the Coriolis effect in front of council and speak to it in a meaningful way, so.
I know you like that. Okay, anything else? Okay. Next, do you have anything else? Okay, thank you very much, gentlemen. Thank you. Okay, next.
Motion to accept the reports.
Second? Second. Any discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. All right. Thank you. Oh, you're still here. Okay, you just keep sitting there. Okay. Next, correspondence. Corporate officer.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just really briefly, we've just included the various letters offering condolences on the passing of Councillor Douglas.
And we do send a response to those letters, right? Just to say thank you for, do we?
We haven't to date. I guess we could respond to each one in turn. But there's a...
Yes,
If I
Councillor
may
Mealy.
make a motion that we receive these letters and send letters of thank you in return.
Second by Councillor Dame. Any more discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. Next, new business. Public bench standards.
Good evening again. Hey. That was a planned teaser earlier. I just want to let you know. Manager of Operations here to present the report for public benches. Seating located in public spaces should provide a safe, clean, and comfortable place to rest. Aesthetically pleasant bench designs and enjoyable locations promote the use of those benches. The report aims to receive direction from Council on how to best move forward with a modern approach to this particular amenity. Staff recommend option 1 as we believe it is the most strategic and comprehensive approach to a new strategy on public bench use and placement and design. I will take any questions.
Any questions? Yes, Councillor Patola.
Madam Chair, I'd make the motion that the Committee of the Whole recommend that Council direct staff to develop citywide park, memorial, and pedestrian bench standards, including a placement strategy associated with a needs analysis. And that the Committee of the Whole recommend that Council direct staff to terminate the contract for bench placement and advertising effective December 31st, 2024.
A second by Councillor Mealy. Discussion? Nope. I just want to add, for all the years, I would like to make sure we do say thank you to the present operator, Rodney Wade. He's been there from day one, basically, and, you know, he's been out there. So I just really would like to make sure we do say thank you. Okay, motion's on the floor. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. Okay, this is question period. An opportunity for the public to ask questions of the committee. For the participating electronically, please use and raise your hand feature and you'll be called upon to speak in order which it appears. So I don't see any members of the public. Oh yes, go ahead. There is a member of the public. Did I see my hand go up? No? Oh, okay. Okay. You look so cozy right there. And nobody online? Anybody online? Nope. Motion to adjourn.
So moved, Madam Mayor.
Second. All in favor, opposed? Motion carried. There you go. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, staff. Enjoy your evening. And thank you for coming.